Remember what? Remember what?
You're doing an intro or what?
Yeah. This, I was going to say, this is an Argonaut.
Yeah, you should have. This is our longest Argonaut, man.
This is part 2 of the Frank Miller Hall of Fame episode. We're gonna forego the old joke thing.
Do it again.
Do it again. I was gonna ramble for a bit.
I know, but you didn't even say Frank Miller properly. Like, this is Frank Mill.
Did I? Did I mumble? Oh,
and then I wanted to jump on that, but I was like, leave it alone. You should have just called it Argonaut. We've been good.
This is the.
I'm tired.
I'm so tired.
So tired. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
What am I saying? This is part 2?
Yeah.
This is part.
You see what happens?
It's because I looked at you, you idiot.
Yeah. Well,
Ready?
I'm talking.
Watch a pro. This is part 2 of our Hall of Fame episode, Frank Miller.
So this is we've done DC. We did some things before that as well, but we're on to the Marvel stuff, which is actually where he got his start.
Yeah,
we just saved it for now because it's because this is what we want to do. Okay.
Nobody was judging you. Nobody said, "Hey,
no, I know.
Why didn't you do Marvel first?"
I don't know. I'm explaining to myself. I'm very tired. Okay.
I'm gonna get our viewers to make a bingo card, and that center square is gonna be
It's a drinking game.
If Coke says he's
whenever
tired,
I say I'm very tired, or Danks stutters, you gotta take a shot.
Well, listen, people dying of alcohol poisoning, which will happen.
Especially in this episode, it's gonna be like 4 hours long. Yes, you got to start with Marvel drawing for Daredevil. I lost my notes. 1 second.
I'm tired.
No, that was just me losing my notes.
I know. I'm tired of you. That's really what I wanted to say.
With issue 158 is actually when he started drawing. He was drawing for Denny O'Neil. Very 70s.
Yes.
Very hokey and stuff, but fantastic art. The art looked amazing. And so he eventually got tired of, like we mentioned at the top, tired of drawing for Denny, so he wanted to do some writing. So they made them co-writers for 165, 166, and 167. And then by the time 168 rolled around, he had full duties of writing and drawing. And it was such a success that it went from a bi-monthly book to a monthly book, and he actually couldn't keep up. He was stressed.
Yeah.
Because he was doing full duties, right? And
yeah.
It was once every 2 months. That was okay, but it became so popular so fast that Marvel was like, no, you got to do it monthly. So he ended up getting some help, and guest artists came on, and we'll circle on. But he wrote like that until number 191 for the first break. And then he comes back later. But this first chunk from 165 especially to 191, we're going to cover right now.
Which is the Miller you prefer? You prefer when he has control of writing and drawing, or when he writes and someone else draws, or when he draws and someone else writes?
Oh, actually, I like when he has guest artists on too.
Yeah.
Because it kind of changes the flavor a little bit, and it's a bit of a different look. The writing is very similar. He has a definite style. Like all his characters...
You punk!
Yeah, but if you notice, all of his characters are very introverted in the sense they talk to themselves, and they're always beating themselves up. Stupid. Shouldn't have done that.
You're better
what are you doing?
This.
Yeah, all of his main characters do that. So it's interesting when you read so much of a guy at one time, you really pick up on certain things that he does.
Or they're beating up women.
Or that. So a lot of women get a lot of dames, a lot of broads. Clubbed and
stabbed.
Something I forgot. Yeah.
Roped. Bullseye just goes off the rails.
He's crazy in this. Well, 165 is an interesting issue because he fights Dr. Octopus.
Oh, amazing. What a crossover.
Really cool. There was one part in the book that really made me laugh was they assumed he was dead without, like, so they pull him from the river and they just assume he's dead without even checking his pulse. Like, he's like, oh yeah, he's dead. Look what we pulled from the river. Called the morgue. And then he like gets up. So it's like these old timey things that like they didn't even check. They're just like, oh, he's dead. Oh wait, no, he's not. And then he goes off. Anyways, first introduction of Elektra, you can tell as soon as he takes over. I'm jumping to 168 now.
Yeah.
There is a bit of transition with the one. Sorry, 65, 60. I was lost in thought for a second. 65, 67, 66, and 67. You can tell the writing style is changing slightly from the previous run, for previous issues, but then 168, the tone is completely different. So
Yeah, he understands the balance between Murdoch's life. Like it's not just
yes,
all him running on rooftops. Like he's got to show up for court. Like he's got to pay his bills. Like he's got to go check up with Foggy. And that world building and that sensibility of like who Murdoch is, a man of his code, is so great because like Murdoch's often breaking his own code, and some of his best runs are when villains shake the moral code of Murdoch. And I love that he's not a black and white sort of hero. He deals in so much more grays, and a lot of that's coming from the people that he has to day in day deal with, right? Like as a defense attorney, and he could be a corporate lawyer and make high money, but he's really not. He's really like representing junkies and like predicate felons and like all these other people that typically you assume your hero wouldn't associate with unless they're trying to bust them and take them down.
mm-hmm.
That I fucking love. So like when you talk about the change and him clearing space for dropping an Elektra, I think he knew she was always coming
Oh
because
right,
he
oh
he
yes,
starts clearing out women left and right. And if this is the moment that I get to say it, I'm gonna say it. Murdoch fucks, and I love it. He's such a badass with it, and for as disciplined as he is with his regiment and his quote unquote superpower, his ability to just draw women in and like show this level of like, I'm kind of the bad boy that you want to save, but I'm not going to give you more than what I want to give you is kind of genius. Like,
mm-hmm.
is Murdoch the first Chad?
Yeah, seems that way. Actually, there's an argument there.
There
There's an
is an
argument
argument
there
there.
because he clears out, like you were saying, he clears out women. Because when you start the runs where he's involved with, he's with Black Widow, they're
Mm-hmm.
an item. Then they, he just like loses interest with her
Yeah, she's like, I'm
suddenly
done
for
here.
Heather.
And like someone interviews her and she's like, yeah, I have to leave New York. There's nothing left for me here. And I was like, oh man, like she got scorned and burnt and like goodbye.
And he's like, it's funny because he's like, "I love you, Natasha," and then like then as soon as Heather is in trouble, he's like, "I love her. Why am I here with?" And it's so funny. It was so you could tell they were just doing a rush job, and then they
Right.
get Heather out of the way too. It's like,
It's true.
she turns into like this nagging, like more so an
Yeah.
annoyance than anything else.
The women change more than Murdoch does, but
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that he does love those women in those moments. And he's got
Yes.
a superhero sort of a I can save you like Captain Save a Ho. Like he definitely loves a girl that's strung out and be like, yo,
Yes.
I can pull you from the streets. Like he's
Yes.
built on that. And like it works sometimes and then it does not work, but then he falls for his own mistakes and ends up going back to those women. But I appreciate that. Like that's a flaw that shows how three-dimensional your character is. You understand Murdoch that as great as he is in the streets beating up people, he's kind of successful in like getting women, but he can't keep a woman, right? Like he's got that
Yeah.
Hawkeye sensibility of like they love me, but I don't know how to love them, and it's gonna sooner or later when the line is drawn, I'm probably gonna go back to these streets, right? And like Daredevil's the man of the street. He's for the streets. He's outside. Like he don't really want to be at home.
No.
And then there's moments where like I really feel like he's trying to put moves on Foggy's girl too.
Yep.
So like
But then Foggy gets him back, right?
yes. So like I as a writer, I love that you did that. You didn't make him a shining star. You didn't make him you can name how many countless superheroes that their alter ego is exactly like their secret identity and you can't see any delineation. They
Yeah.
seem like a perfect man in a non-perfect city and I don't like that. That's not as interesting as a flawed man who can do this one thing really fucking well and then these other things I can kind of do well, but like I don't have the time or the energy to really give it the attention I need, which is essentially love. Like this is a man that's not gonna find love, and that opens the doors for Elektra.
Yeah, and what you're saying from the top about how he had his plan the whole time, I absolutely believe that. Like it
Yeah,
was, he wasted no time. The first arc, boom, she's in there. Like
yeah.
it's like Elektra introduction. This is what I want to do. This femme fatale kind of character that,
A Greek goddess, yeah,
yeah,
who had her kind of alter
Greek
ego set up
ninja
too,
goddess. Yeah,
right? Like because she's first seen as sort of like this college preppy rich girl who has like this family of means, and as we slowly peel back the layers, like with Elektra, Elektra is who she is, but like this girl that does play the piano and like a woman of the world and like goes to classes and like upstanding citizens is who she's trying to pretend to be, but she'd rather just go scrap in the middle of the streets.
Yeah.
And like Miller made himself a woman that is a mirror image of Murdoch, if not a mirror image of Bullseye,
Hmm.
which is crazy.
And it's a good thing you bring Bullseye up because he is the other character that comes about in this first arc. He's been in the Daredevil book. Frank Miller didn't create Bullseye, but he did create Elektra, and he did redefine Bullseye because he comes out of
And
this.
redefine Daredevil.
Yes, and redefine Daredevil and Kingpin. We can get to all that stuff.
All of Hell's Kitchen, like all these characters get
He
a
re
fresh facelift. Yes.
like it's basically like he takes over duties at 168, but this is basically Daredevil #1. That's how it should be read. Like everything that came before, no offense, there are some good books that came before this. It's just like this is like the new. Bullseye comes out of the psych ward and he can't stop seeing Daredevil
Yeah,
everywhere,
that was
which is
amazing.
interesting. That's another thing that Frank Miller likes to do. He likes characters that have like mental issues, like
Hmm.
hallucinations or psychosis or like split personality disorder, or they're in their own head too much, and they're yeah, and this he sees Daredevil everywhere, so he just starts killing everybody. It's
It's
wild.
drawn great too. Like
Yeah,
it's Bullseye just walking down the street and everyone looks like they're in a red Daredevil suit.
yeah,
Then he's just snapping and then he just starts punching people and kicking people left and right. I was like, what is going on? And
yeah.
he goes ham. And I love the obsessiveness that he's created with Bullseye. Bullseye just he's a villain and a murderer and an assassin and terrible. But he's so talented in that, right? Like you're impressed in like his skill sets of like I can do anything I want with the little that I'm given. It's just this one hangup is I think I met my match and I can't have that be the lasting image. So like I love the fact that the storyline has both Bullseye and Elektra go work for Kingpin because
Yeah.
all of them need each other to like take out Daredevil. Like Bullseye and Elektra need the money and the means to find this guy, and Kingpin needs someone to actually do the job because everyone I keep sending to Daredevil, he just keeps dummying. So like frame of Rhine to understand. Not only am I going to introduce a new character, Elektra, who that alone changed the entire shape of kind of the way that he was writing the books, right? Because she's so sure of herself and confident, and Black Widow wasn't written like that to that point.
No, and she's a spin-off from like the Avengers books too. Like she's not
Yeah,
created for this world where Elektra feels like she's a part of this world, right?
right. Each character, you can see they all have a goal and a point, and they're trying to get there by any means. That when they have to lean on each other, it's kind of crazy. And that anytime they match up, it's a fluidity of the book that like I was not expecting. That like I end up cheering for people that I'm not supposed to be cheering for. I end up liking situations that I'm not supposed to like. And at the end of the day, you're always like, can Murdoch get out of this? Like there's times where it's like he shouldn't get out of this, and by the like grit of his teeth, right? Like he's kind of characteristic where he's an underdog, but because he doesn't have the power set and like his power is like sonar. It's basically like
Yeah.
I still have to like flip and punch and like
Yeah.
take a hit, and he takes hits constantly. Like he gets beat up constantly. He's so grimy that I love the fact that Miller created characters or improved characters that really made that put like Murdoch on his back toes. Like you can't approach these guys the same way.
Hmm.
You really have to like bring your A game, and he doesn't always, except for with Bullseye.
And this one's interesting because uh, at the end of this meeting of Bullseye going crazy, they end up fighting in the subway,
Okay, yeah,
and Daredevil he has an opportunity, like you were saying, because it leads up to this, is that he has an opportunity to let him die, and he doesn't, and
right.
that comes back to haunt him throughout the whole run of Frank Miller's book. Like
Yes,
it's a crazy foreshadow, and you got to think that he had this written out or at least loosely thought of from jump, right? Like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna introduce this character. We're gonna make Bullseye do this, and then we're gonna go all the way to here, and that's like here being the clash of all his creations and reformations, right?
world building doesn't cut it because it makes you think it's something so giant. His world building in terms of city planning, maybe that's the word I need to use, is so intricate because like even what Turk does and like how Turk keeps popping in helps progress the plot to get to these checkpoints that you don't see coming. The fact that he saw coming is insane, right?
Dirk's amazing, by the way. He's
In this run,
amazing.
yes.
He's like this comic. He's like this comic relief that keeps showing up, but he's not just there. He actually helps. like you
Serves
were saying,
purpose.
instrumental.
Yeah.
Yeah, he serves a purpose, right? He helps the story kind of shift this way, that way. Like if Daredevil's just this close to finding where he needs to go, oh, Turk's got the information, boom,
Yeah.
and then but it's still funny because he's always beating Turk up. Turk's always trying to kill him, but it just never works. It's really funny. It's charming in a book that's like not really. It's
Supposed
a
to be.
grimy book, right? Like
Yeah. I'm surprised we haven't brought that up yet. This is the funniest
it's
Daredevil
really fun.
I've read. And I don't know if it's tongue in cheek. I don't know if it's our sensibility. I don't know. I think it is intended to be that way, but
It
to
is.
bring such a level of darkness and shit that should not be funny, and it ends up being some of the funniest pages because you laugh at how much control Murdoch actually does have, and when he doesn't, he just punches somebody in the face,
Yeah.
and it works. So yeah, no, we're undercutting how funny Miller is during this run because he's hilarious.
The second arc I'm going to bring up just because I think it might be my favorite, and that is when Kingpin shows up.
Yes.
He's not even in country. He's out of country.
Is that where he's
He's got
training with the ninjas and they're like
yeah,
attack me all at the same time?
and then he has to
Oh,
come back, and they send the dummy plane.
oh, so good.
Remember, they come back and like they send word that he's coming back, and they send a dummy plane, and then it gets hijacked. But then he tricks them, and he comes back in the plane
Yeah.
behind them. Like it's like his rise to power is so cool, and then he uses Daredevil to take down his competition. Like he sets them up, and I'm like, this is so. And then he becomes the Kingpin of New York. It's like this, so cool, man.
As much as we talk about how much we love Daredevil, this may be the best run of Kingpin I've read.
Yep.
And the understanding of what it means to be a true villain and a true boss. Because as you're saying, it's not a meteoric rise, it's a methodical rise. And the touch points that he has to hit in order to make sure that he gets to his specific places. It just sucks that it turns out that Daredevil's always this thorn.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, like Kingpin gets this stronghold on New York, and it's fucking amazing that you almost cheer for him.
Yeah. Because he's the underdog. He's actually the underdog at some point, but he's just outsmarting everybody. And like I said, it's all in the name to save Vanessa, right? Like
Yep.
it's Pussy gonna get them killed because he comes in here, he's like, all right, I want her back,
Yep.
and then she quote
She becomes a
unquote
liability.
dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she quote unquote dies, and he's like, all right, all bets are off. I got nothing to lose now.
And that's the switch that
Wicked.
Miller needed to make him the true villain, right? Like
Yeah.
he's building like from real life, right? So you can see where Miller is drawing on like if I'm bringing politics into it, it's not going to be as clean as I want to. There's a level there where you think that Kingpin can go the right way, except for his name being Kingpin, which kind of sounds like a villain's name.
And he remember he's trying to go straight. Sorry, at the beginning
Yes.
he is trying to go straight.
He wants to be called Fisk and gets mad
Yeah.
anyone time anyone brings up Kingpin, but he's still connected into that world, right? So it's one foot in, one foot out. It's kind of the Godfather, like just when you think you're out, they pull me back in,
Yeah.
and you don't know if it's a chicken versus the egg. You don't know if it's the ripples from Daredevil started doing that brought Kingpin in. Once that one shining light, once that glowing star, which is his wife as the avatar for this specific story, is gone, that's it, and it's a descent into madness, and everybody suffers, and it's great.
Yeah, it's really, really fun to watch him. Like you said, you shouldn't be cheering for this guy, but it's like it's fun watching him climb the ranks and like just get rid of his competition, make his way to the top, and then he's like, okay, now I'll take care of Daredevil because he uses him,
Yeah.
which I think is hilarious, and it becomes almost like this Kingpin book. Another thing that's cool is that Melvin Potter he loves the Gladiator, right? Like
What is up with
he bring
Melvin? Melvin has so much more appearances than I ever thought he was going to get.
yeah, yeah, and he's in this a lot.
He's
So,
not a
but
terrible character. I just don't get him.
no, his whole case is like a constant plot line in the background,
He loves Melvin.
right? So he's always around, and he hooks. His whole purpose is that he hooks Daredevil up with his digs, right? So that's how he gets his armor and stuff.
But like he has to fight him first and then fight with him and then fight him again.
Yeah,
Like it's hilarious the
yeah,
fact that essentially everybody has a tumultuous relationship with Daredevil except for Foggy.
yes,
I do love the fact that it seems like Murdoch actually seems like a person you would know.
yeah. He feels real.
Where I can't say the same with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne doesn't feel like a person I would know.
No, he's some rich boy, right? Daredevil's like this perfect middle ground between Bruce Wayne and Peter Parker. I know you're talking about he's a comparison to Bruce Wayne earlier, and you that's true because some people find they like to compare Marvel and DC. Who's this person? Who's this person? It's like it's Bruce Wayne, and some people say it's Bruce Wayne and it's Batman and Moon Knight, but
You could make the case.
There is a case there, but there is the Daredevil and Batman case too, right?
I
So
think it's the strongest one.
yeah, the only difference is that one's rich and one's not. Everything else is pretty much the same, right? They don't really, neither one of them have superpowers.
Except for I haven't seen a lot of great Bruce Wayne written stories, to be honest with you.
No, but you know who's written some amazing ones.
Case in point.
Year One's one of my favorite
Yeah.
Batman story. Like it's, but yeah, then they introduced the hand. So like, man, like if you, I have a list of notes here, right? But if you just go through and pick out everything that Frank Miller created or inspired, okay, Daredevil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bullseye,
Yep.
Elektra,
Yep.
Kingpin,
Yep.
the Hand,
Yep.
Stick and the Chased, like Ben Ulrich, even like it's like.
I even love what he does with Punisher, because Punisher comes off
Yeah.
less
Yes, that's right.
less murdery than Murdoch. When other stories I read about Punisher, Punisher's just a lone wolf and it's like, I just want to kill everybody, fuck everybody.
Yeah, and there's the whole Karigi, who's like the Hand General.
Oh,
He's
with the face off with Elektra,
yeah, Karigi.
one of the
Yeah,
best deaths too, because he gets hit by a
yeah.
truck and then blown up on fire. It's okay. It doesn't sound funny, but if you read it, it's so hilarious. And I don't know if that's our dark sensibilities, but even the deaths make me laugh because comic lore, nobody really stays dead, and he comes back. I think like two more issues down the line. But
Yeah, they're reviving
I
him.
love the fact that like Miller's not just afraid to like hit somebody with a car and just end it. Like it wasn't this superhero that had to create this elaborate trap in order to like fall in. It's like, oh no, we're in New York, so like a car just hit him. I'm done with this.
I love that too because it's like he's really, really good at building drama and intensity,
Mm-hmm.
like getting there step by step. But at all at other times, he's also very good at just making it real. Like it's when Bullseye kills Elektra.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But Daredevil's not even there.
No.
Like there's no like in contemporary writing, most of the time he'd be like there going like no.
Yeah.
It's just like boom, you get shanked a whole bunch of times, and then I kick you, and then that's it. And then she crawls her way like a
To
like
him.
a dying
Oh
cat
my
to Daredevil.
gosh.
I was like,
I was gonna say the best part about that book is the next book after, because the follow of
yeah,
like losing Elektra just
yeah,
like snaps this
yeah,
guy. Like he can't,
yeah.
like his day to day does not work well. And I love the fact that Miller knew how to write that sorrow. Like just he can't get over this, and his world is completely shattered now. Like he's constantly in a like, and is that when he's wearing like the puffy coat and just like the gloves, just walking around and
Yeah.
like even to show him like
There's a beard, yeah.
unshaved, like I'm not playing it the same way anymore. Like now he lets his emotions take the best of him. And like rule number one for superheroes, like don't do that. Like if you rule with rage, it's not gonna work out with you. And then he decides to do it, and like, oh man, those next like 3 books are just free.
And even the way it even like trickles into his personal life. What's cool about it too is like Miller never writes why he starts treating Heather like shit.
Mm. But you
He
get it.
just
You just
does.
understand it.
And then they know it like why he's just turned on her. It's like, yeah, because
He lost his girl.
he was more he just learned he was more in love with Elektra and she's gone. And now this Heather chick's always nagging him. And it's like, well, you and she's written like that, by the way. It's not just me. Like she's written like a just kind of annoying. But at the same time, you get it because she misses her boyfriend, right? But at the same time, it's like, bro, like, yeah, go ahead.
Again, that's the stuff you love about the writing. He always puts Murdoch in which life am I going to live, right? So as the reader, you have to determine if you're going to read him as Murdoch, or if you're going to have to read him as Daredevil. And with this decision to kill Elektra, you read him as Daredevil, because all his decisions are now like, I don't want to show this face anymore. I don't want to wear these glasses. I don't want to wear a suit. I just want to be like. I love certain moments where like his back turned to his girl and just ready to jump out. That decision just decided I just want to be all into this one world, and I just want to fight, and I want to take it out on everybody. It's so, I don't want to say satisfying, but like for anyone that's grieved, you understand that there's a level of pain and not anxiety. That's not the word. Like angst and just repression that you don't know what to do with all these emotions, because like he didn't get those final conversations with Elektra. He didn't get to fight side by side with her. Like he did. There's all this unanswered stuff that he has to deal with, and it shows up on the page, and it's so good. The movement and the flow of Daredevil, especially like when he's fighting like 6 dudes and it's all in silhouette. I feel like
Yeah.
Miller definitely had a touch on how he wanted Daredevil to look, and I even love the fact that when he's doing like cartwheels and flips, they show the silhouettes of it. So in one panel, you'll see like 4 different Daredevils in different positions as he's jumping around the character. Like, how do you not root for a dude that's just that ready to fuck up somebody? Like,
Just bouncing around.
I'll flip all over you just so I can punch you in the face. The ambition is definitely shown in Daredevil.
Yeah, and he brings in the character Stick that we all know and love.
Amazing.
His mentor, who taught him how to fight blind, basically, and the Chaste, which are the chosen ones that he keeps around him. Stick is prickly blind man,
Yeah.
who is also ninja, and he lets them know that he reluctantly allows Matt into
That world.
the fight with the hand. Right? You were talking about the ending of this whole run too, where he meets Bullseye, and because Bullseye does come back. That's when he kills Elektra, and they go through the whole thing, and Matt pushes him off a building. Yeah.
That was good. Even though, like, I just remember the movie cinema fight where like Bullseye's going. That's when he's still
Yes.
going insane,
Yes.
and he starts like he's watching a movie for whatever reason, and he's all suited up, but like he can't get this voice out of his head, and he still can't get over the obsession of Daredevil. So he starts kind of seeing people as Daredevil, and then not really. Like anyone that like pipes off to be like, "Shut up, it's a movie." He'll just start popping, and like he's kicking girls in the face and like punching dudes.
Yeah.
But there's a couple that keeps watching, and I couldn't stop laughing at that.
Yes. And, like criticizing, it's
Yes.
like a Skull Ebert thing. Yeah.
And then like Daredevil comes into that fight. I love that. Like it's such a personal fight with Daredevil. There's nothing really that these guys can do so far apart that has the same impact as close together, and it's that closeness that makes everything so much hard hitting and like you feel it. It's so much more personal, and that increases like the follow for me.
No, it's awesome, and the way it all comes together is like because you're talking about two different two different arcs there, right?
yeah,
Like the one where he's crazy in the theater and stuff, and then he goes away, right? He almost gets hit by the train and he gets sent away.
Okay,
Then
that's right.
he basically gets fixed and he comes back, quote unquote fixed, and he's not crazy anymore, but he still wants to mess around with Daredevil, and he ends up killing Elektra because he's jealous that Elektra took his spot as
Okay,
Kingpin's
number one.
assassin,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
He's like, I'll show her type thing. So he kills her for that reason, basically solely, and that's when Daredevil's like he comes back and breaks his back, right? Pushes him off the thing. So the stab it just happens like
Yeah.
mid page too. It's not like you turn a page and it happens. It's like they're fighting, and then he gets her side and jukes her, and it's like, oh. And it's amazing. She
Yeah.
crawls to Daredevil, and yeah, he cycles them in and out. If you think about it, like he created a lot of characters, but he doesn't really utilize too many of them. He's got the one rotation with like Gladiator, Bullseye, Elektra, Kingpin, and then a bunch of criminals
Yeah.
that just kind of rotate in and out, like drug dealers. Like there's that one off with the little Billy, remember Hogman and stuff, and he couldn't tell if the guy was lying because the guy had a pacemaker. It was like a one issue.
Okay.
It was like a side. It was a standalone issue, right? Then there's the Glen Industries stuff with Heather. One thing I gotta talk about is how, because he's treating Heather like a dick, right? After Elektra dies,
Right.
and after um, Bullseye spine is broken, and he never breaks it off with her. So what happens is, it's so funny to me because Foggy and Black Widow get together and they write letters for each other.
Okay.
So they write one letter as Matt and one letter as Heather.
So that they
Like, don't call me. I never want to see you again.
break
And they
up
just
for each
leave
other.
it.
That's insane. Yes, I completely forgot about that. Oh my god.
I was like, that is wild. Because it was like this toxic cycle where he wouldn't let her go, but he wouldn't.
Bring her close. Yeah, like he's just
Yeah,
leaving her in limbo.
he was just
Yes,
treating like,
yes.
yeah, and she wouldn't leave. So they're just like, enough of this. So they grown men and grown women actually like forge letters and send them to each other, and they're just kind of like, and they just kind of accept it. Like, all right, well then, forget her. I thought that was so funny.
That was pretty good actually.
Um,
And that becomes a theme. Sorry, like Foggy starts cleaning up a lot of Murdoch's messes.
yes, constantly, yes. Because once Elektra's out of the picture, and especially after Elektra and Bullseye out of the picture, he's like this. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah. And Foggy's, for the most part of this run in the beginning, kind of treated like the buffoon and sort of the afterthought.
Yes,
But like you see his arc start to grow. He's very competent and like very much understands how much he has to shelter Murdoch because he's not really ready for the world that he's created for himself. So like
no, he's not because
I was just gonna say it's great to see that a character or a writer understands this is the city planning that we're talking about. Not only do I have to like Foggy as a punching bag that I can just use to make one-off jokes off, but he's got to learn shit and grow. Foggy gets a girl, like Foggy gets married, like Foggy's the stability that Murdoch has never had his entire life. And outsiders looking in, you'd be like, "Oh, that guy's the joke," but it's actually Murdoch. Like Murdoch's the one that's just getting wilding out here. The fact
Mm.
that you're a hero and you can save the day, great. But like Foggy has to remind you to show up to court.
Yeah, yeah, he just stops caring. And then when we get to the whole thing with the chase, and they're trying to finish off the hand, right? Which is the chase is, if you don't know, people listening, stick and there's stick, there's stone, there's claw. It's a bunch of ninja that are dressed in white instead of red,
Yeah,
and they all get killed except for Stone at one point.
yeah, and
So it's
he
like
teams up
Stone,
with Daredevil, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 'cause even Stick gets killed, and it's Stone and Daredevil, and they have to try and stop the ceremony that the hand are going to do because they're trying to bring back Elektra again. And so when Daredevil sees this, he's like, he tries to revive her, and then somehow
goes awry.
it does bring her
Yeah,
back, but it brings her back in a
differently.
different way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you see the repercussions of that.
And then it ends with the Russian roulette scene.
Oh, with a gun, and then he's got that huge monologue and stuff, and he talks about
He comes to visit him, and
doesn't even put
it's kind
a
of,
bullet in it.
yeah. There's no bullets in
Yeah.
it. I kind of, you figure that's exactly how it's going to play out. But they just recap the entire run together,
Mm-hmm.
more or less, and you can tell that Matt's changed now, right? And so he scares Bullseye half to death because he's playing Russian roulette and he's pulling the trigger for him.
Click, click, click.
But yeah, the gun's empty at the end, anyways. Now I was like, that's a strong finish.
Yeah.
But he ends up coming back again for one issue with 219, and then another run, which is the Born Again run,
Okay.
226.
You don't want to talk about
Well,
the Damned and him fighting sewer swamp monsters for
oh, we did forget about that.
yeah,
Yeah, Vanessa. So
for one issue. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Ulrich is in this. That's an important arc. I can't believe we just glossed over that. Ben Ulrich is in
I
this.
can't believe we haven't talked about Ben Urich at this point too. He definitely beefed up who that guy was in this world.
Yes, absolutely. And he came into this, and his whole thing is he actually discovers that Vanessa's still alive
Mm-hmm.
and living like Princess Leia in the Star Wars movie, which is with the slime guy. What's his name?
Jabba
Jabba
the
the
Hutt.
Hutt. Yeah, and she's in this like sewer, and she doesn't remember who she is because she
Yeah.
was caught in an explosion, has like crazy amnesia, and there's all these like sewer people that live.
And the head guy, I can't remember his name, but he's kind of like a mirror avatar for Kingpin too, right? Like he's drawn
Yeah.
the same way and like robust, fat, bald, but like semi naked and like super creepy, but like menacing, right? So like the entire tone of the book does a complete shift because it goes completely underworld, right? So you can kind of see why Ninja Turtles decided like this maybe this is the guy that we want to make our Four Brothers based out of because if this is not the launching pad to like, hey, let's have Four Brothers live in the sewer and kick ass.
This is the influence too, which is this run of Daredevil, right? The hand, the foot. This is exactly what.
There's an alligator in this run too. Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah,
doesn't he get like tied up at some point and then like he breaks free and then has to like
underwater.
it's pretty crazy. It doesn't fit in terms of everything you're expecting from Daredevil.
219. So he finishes the arc with the Russian roulette scene in the hospital, and then 219 he comes back for that one issue where he doesn't even speak. Right, he doesn't say a word for the whole issue. He walks into a small town called Broken Cross and gets mixed up with a crime family and a crooked cop. It's that one. It's a one-off issue that sets him up to be more of a symbol than a man type thing.
Got
Because
it.
it's interesting. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't even dress like Daredevil. Nothing. But he's just him being there. Kind of shows him how much of a wheel turner he is, and he sets things in motion just by his presence. But 226 is more of a prelude of the story to come, which is Born Again, and it deals with a very bitter and frustrated Matt neglecting his lawyer duties and wanting to bust heads, even when Gladiator hits him up in an attempt to get his help with Betsy, who's being held by some goons and are forcing Melvin to rob stores for them. Right? This is angry Daredevil.
This is the only good version of Melvin I like too, because like they changed his
Yeah,
costume and actually makes sense, and he's a man that's conflicted and like has no choice in what he has to do, but like he still ends up like Daredevil still has to like beat him down. I was like, well, I thought you guys are friends, so like I love the fact that like they fight initially and then they work together to go like take down all the thugs, right? But I love that like you can't even trust Murdoch even when you need to trust him.
yeah. Something happened. I didn't read the stuff in between. Like I said, he had the one issue in 219, and then there's the 5 or 6 issues in between that I didn't read, and then 220 because it's not Frank Miller, and then 226 Frank Miller takes over again, but he's like furious in this book,
Mm-hmm.
and but the story of Born, anyways, yeah, you're right. He meets with Gladiator who wants help, and he just ends up fighting him until he kind of like clears his head, and then he doesn't even apologize. He's like, "Oh well, you should have just told me earlier." It's that type of attitude where he's not even sorry for punching first and asking questions later. But
I'm not mad that that's his MO, but that's his MO. I'm literally gonna
Yeah.
punch my way out of everything. And this is the story where he does it.
Yeah, and the 5 issues that follow this, Karen Page, like I said, the 5 issues that follow this is the, like I've said it 3 times now, is the well known Born Again story where Karen Page out in the
What's it
West
called? You should
Coast.
say it again because I didn't get
It's
you.
called it's called Fart Again, and
I didn't read that.
Karen Karen Page is in the West Coast, right? She's trying to get a gig as an actor, and she can't, so she ends up getting into like adult films and into drugs,
Drugs.
and
Drugs. She's such a junkie now.
she sells off Murdoch's identity for a fix.
Which is
And
nuts. Not even like money, just for the drugs.
to fix.
Pussy's gonna get him killed.
And then from there, that little piece of paper with his name on it makes
Goes
its
all the way,
way
man.
all the
So
way to
good.
the East Coast, to Hell's Kitchen, right to Kingpin's hands.
You cheer for Kingpin in this, which you shouldn't, but
But it's really funny because in his first arc, Bullseye figures out
his
that
identity.
he's that his identity. He brings it to Kingpin. King was like, "Man, shut up."
You're crazy.
Yeah. But in this one, because it's written on a piece of paper, he's like, "Aha!"
I don't mind that because
No, I don't mind either.
the steps that Kingpin takes to destroy the life of Matt Murdock
Amazing.
is so insane and so ingenious that it's like, yeah, I don't want to be your enemy either. Because he freezes his accounts. He gets his license revoked. He puts like Froggy in jail. Like he just
Cancels
so
his cards.
systematically just
Yeah.
destroys this man to the point that you have nothing left except to punch. And then he's just like, well, his will is broken. Now I can break him.
Even
So
gets Lieutenant Manolis to like claim that
he's the
Murdoch was,
shooter.
yeah, he's a shooter. He's doing all these dirty things, and I was like, like you said, it just picks his life apart bit by bit, even to the point where he is preparing for him to come barging through his front door because he knows he will, right? Like
Yeah.
Kingpin knows that he's going to come. He's like, if I know what these guys like, and I do, he's going to come, and so he does. And that standoff is so cool too because he just walks in there and it's kind of like, oh, you're here. They're like, yeah, you know why I'm here. And they just start going, and Kingpin's been studying his moves for weeks.
And training with ninjas left over.
Because
Doesn't he
remember-
burn down his house too?
Yep.
That he has to go like
Yep.
sleep in the Y
Yep.
for like $6 a day, and he doesn't have like enough for 2 days.
He's
It's
got-
so good.
yeah.
He breaks down. It's one of the best stories in terms of breaking down a character and
Yeah.
like breaking down the man. Like you read this book if you want to understand what it is to be a villain and how to truly like destroy your enemy. It's basically like the 48 laws of power. The build up to the tension and to like you've broken this man that I want to fight him is near perfect.
He drives him to have a nervous breakdown.
Yes.
Like he literally breaks down and just
That he's
He always,
fantasizing that he's fantasizing about like beating him with his fists, and like that's a great panel too. That like he's just dripping blood in his fist. He's like, "I'm gonna kill Kingpin," and like that's you're playing right into his hands, right? Like no one can break him out of this. It's so
and
good.
he's like scared to leave his little closet. Like they said, he's staying at the Y. He's staying in that little hut, and he's like, I'm gonna get up and I go show him what's what. Right after I lay down for a little bit longer, and then he's like, 12 hours goes by. And it's
He'll
like,
only call Foggy's wife and talk to her, but he won't talk to Foggy. Like he
Yeah.
always hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
Like he's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Doesn't he like beat up a cop and like almost kill a cop? He just snaps. It's so good. It's so good.
yeah. And one of the craziest things about it too is like, for me, it was after Kingpin learns of his identity, he goes and sends out to have everybody else who knows his identity to be killed.
Yes.
So that he's like, knowledge is
The
power,
only one.
right? So he's
Yep.
just like, I'm
I'm
gonna
the
kill everybody who knows. So I'm literally the only person in the world who knows, and I'm gonna destroy this man slowly, bit by bit. They frame him to die, and he doesn't, right? Matt.
That's what I'm gonna say. This is a near perfect plan. The stupid part of the plan is he puts him in like a abandoned taxi and then throws him over a pier
Yeah.
to drown.
Just shoot him in the head.
Shoot him in the head.
Just shoot him in the head. Yeah.
I got a gun. I'm home. Shoot him in the head. It's like no, no, no. So I mean, it's a comic book trope, so you laugh at it because our hero has to get out of it. But like, if this was the real world, like this is the end of Murdoch. Murdoch dies.
Yes. It was the real one. He's cooked.
He kills him. It's great.
And then there was like at the end too, they give that serial killer the Daredevil costume. That
He
was
goes ham.
so
Yeah.
great. And they're like, oh, this guy's just a wild dog. It's like, all right, listen, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna kill Foggy and only Foggy, and then he just kills him.
Yeah. I can't tell you if this has been done before in comics, but I can tell you it's been done after. So Miller being influential to the point that we end up seeing Dark Avengers, and who takes up the mask of Hawkeye? Bullseye.
Bullseye, yeah. And then yeah, then just to
And
put a
it's like
cherry on.
Christmas too, isn't it? It's
Yes,
like
it's a
winter
Christmas
in it.
story. Yeah, it's a Christmas story. And the serial killer in the
Oh
Daredevil
my
costume is like
god.
the cherry on top.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't work, he calls in for Nuke.
Oh my god.
But it's gonna take days for
A
him to
while
get
for it
there.
to come. Yeah.
So then he says that he does the serial killer plan. Like, okay, let's dress him like Daredevil.
Jesus.
I was like, it's like, and then Nuke versus Daredevil was crazy.
Yeah.
You get the cameo from Captain America that makes complete sense.
Yeah, that was the best way to bring him in. The cameo with Thor and Iron Man in here does not.
Well, that's the argument that people are
Avengers
like,
showing
where are
it.
the
Yeah.
Avengers right now? Because
Yeah.
the threat level got so big. That's like, the Avengers showed up and then they left, except for Cap. He's kind of like, hold on a second, what's going on here? And he finds out that he's like an offshoot of the Super Serum
Yeah.
project. So there's like a subplot going, like a
Yeah,
sub,
it's
like
like,
it.
oh, I'm more invested, and then you find out like the government's still sort of treating him the red pill, white pill, blue pill. That shit was great too, man.
Really, really cool, but they don't use him in American soil. It's just Kingpin has so much money and influence.
That
He
he flew him in.
he flew them in, but he's like we don't use him on American soil. He's only it's like, oh, my boys, gotta get the boys out.
Do we get any resolution with? I don't know if you're building up to the Turk part where he stabs him.
Oh yes, Turk. Yeah, you can talk about Turk.
Well, Turk dressed as Santa Claus stabs him, and that's the
Amazing.
kind of that's the lowest level of like Murdoch trying to reclaim some sort of sanity, as like he sees this guy in the streets like, take it off, you don't deserve to be Santa Claus, and Turk's like, fuck you, and like gouges him.
Yeah,
But like Daredevil, in like his lowest shred of life left, ends up in like, I guess, hospital with like nuns. And I don't know, for me, I didn't get a resolution on it. The way that the nun is talking to her is very comforting to him, that he thinks it's his mother.
yeah,
And there's something about, which is a amazing nod, but like for anyone else, a throwaway line. Daredevil can tell you're lying because he can hear your heartbeat. And again, have you heard us talk about superpowers yet with Daredevil?
no, it's
And, like with Superman, he'll have powers that are conveniently helpful for the circumstances that he's in. Where I think Daredevil has these powers, and you don't see him need to use it because the circumstances hasn't allowed for it.
mm-hmm.
So like this has always been ingrained. So the fact when he asks her, "Are you my mother?" she says no. Well, her heart skipped a beat.
Yeah.
So
That's what Miller does though. He leaves little things and goes,
nuggets
"You
there just
let
to freaking shoot.
you
And like I
figure
was
it
like,
out."
man,
Yeah.
I was already dealing with all this other shit, and like now you putting this mother thing on top of it. Like, god damn.
But that was in
God
the
damn.
Netflix series too, right? In season 3, he meets Sister Maggie, and
That's the one season I didn't watch.
oh, you didn't watch 3? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, so in season 3, this whole thing happens. This is basically based on Born Again, not the Kingpin stuff, but the he getting beat up and like picking his pieces up and going to nunnery, and Sister Maggie's there and she takes care of him. And he asks the same question, and the same thing happens. She doesn't answer. They took that scene right from it. Yeah, I didn't know you hadn't seen that. We got
That's where I stopped, and they're like, "You gotta go back." And then again, Born Again got announced. They're like, "You don't have to go back. We're gonna go do Born Again." I was like, "But I may go back." First one's still amazing, but
no.
then we
Season
got
3 is
Defenders.
crazy. That's you missed a really. I think the ending to that is when Fist
All
gets
right, I got time.
arrested. Oh, that's a wicked one. If I'm getting my seasons right.
Enough for you to review it, Coke.
Yeah, you want to go back and watch them?
Yep.
Because the Born Again, I guess, is like a season 3.5 or like a because they remember everything that happens before, right?
Okay.
Anyways, we're not talking about that right now.
This run also we get another like Ulrich like shining moment, right? This is where he gets the phone call and he listens to somebody die on the other end, and he has to listen to it over the
Yes,
phone.
it is this one. Yeah, and like this is an idea of what happens to you. Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
If you don't play
Yeah.
along, so that's a low level. But up in the high rise now, Kingpin's finally established.
Yeah.
He's in the suit and like he's with all the well-to-dos in the penthouse, but he's just making all these phone calls of just like he's in such control of all of his powers now. Like he's finally ascended. Like you see the full arc of him being like, well, I didn't want to be a part of it, and now he's like, I'm completely in it, and now anybody that's against me is going to die. Right? Murdoch is still like reeling in the bed with like who could be his mother. So again, we went from this superhero who was fighting his love and his best matched villain in different like alleyways and like fisticuffs to now this strategy of that you didn't even know was your greatest nemesis now ascending to power, taking out the media, taking out the police, and you're stuck in bed worrying if this is your mother or not. Like, wow.
Reduce him to nothing. Yeah, and he almost got him too. almost finished him off, but that dang taxi cab plot just didn't hold up. Didn't hold up, Mikey. Almost had him. I have a gun in my room. I can go get it. You just don't get it, do you? You don't get it, do you, Scott?
But the genius of Miller is this is what he had been doing with Kingpin, which was ascending, and you see the slow climb to the top, was what he got to do now with
Yeah.
Daredevil. I enjoyed his descent so much. It was great. But his rise again is so satisfying for everything that he got pulled through.
How did you like him ending up with meeting up with Karen Page? Because she had a story through this too, right? She's like traveling across the country with that mobster or whatever.
Yeah, like the junkie dealer who
Yeah.
like would beat her
Yeah.
up and then like like she'd run back. I hated her.
Yeah.
And then again, we talked about his Captain Save-A-Ho. This is the pussy that will get him killed. But like that's the resolution. He chooses Karen in the end. And I was like,
Yeah, I didn't. That's how. Yeah, but it makes sense for him because he's a save-a-ho, right?
yes. And again, I think that's the best resolution for this arc. He couldn't have fixed everything in his life. Like he had to still have a hole or a blind spot, quote unquote blind spot. And it's the women that he falls in love with. Like he falls in love with people that he thinks he can save, and you can't save Karen, even though she looks better now because she's not a full junkie. But like the full circle of this is the one that betrayed you, only for you to like. I guess he understands forgiveness, but I like the fact that I had such an audible reaction to like her. I was like, you got me, you got me,
Yeah.
Frank.
What I really liked too was the Fisk cat was that big nurse, that nurse lady. Or she beat up Ben Elroy because she was beating. You remember
Oh,
that chick?
who like, and then it's like I'm hung or
Yeah.
something
She
too.
gets killed. She gets herself killed because he's like Kingpin told her to lay off, and she's like, "No, I can finish them off right
No,
now."
I'm going in. There's so many things that we're not doing credit
Yeah.
for this. I love the way that even through all this chaos, anytime they show Kingpin, he's usually just
Chill.
chilling or like smoking and like so in control.
Sometimes in like Bermuda shorts, like, it's just like,
As much as this is a great Daredevil story, this is my favorite Kingpin
yeah.
story. He only had one miss.
Did you prefer this one or the first run that you did?
The first one's great in terms of just getting me into the world and loving all the characters, but this is a great story.
Yeah, this one's the better story. I agree. Yeah. Okay, moving on to
That only took us an hour.
yeah. Well, those are the two main ones. Now we gotta dig through the other ones, which is Love and War from '86. That's the graphic novel number 24. Is Love and War. That's when
Oh, the Dreamlight.
yeah, Bill Sienkiewicz as the artist, right?
So it's beautifully drawn. I will give it that nod. For me personally, I don't think the art style reflects what I wanted for the character and characters used in it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a perfect match for what they're trying to get across.
Well, it's interesting. It's funny that it's called Daredevil Love and War. It was from the Marvel graphic novel run. It was number 24. It was called Daredevil Love and War. It's called that, but Daredevil's not really a big part of this at all.
No.
He's a pawn in this, and he gets used. They don't even need him, really and truly, right? So he hires the guy named Victor. So this is like Kingpin and Victor story, right? Because Victor is the nutcase that he hires. He kidnaps the psychiatrist and his wife, and he holds the wife hostage, and he forces the psychiatrist to work on Vanessa. It's Paul Mundat and Cheryl. Paul and Cheryl Mundat. I think it's an interesting idea, but you don't even need Daredevil in it.
But that kind of becomes the theme of Frank Miller in his back half of working with Marvel. He kind of who's on the cover isn't necessarily who's in.
No,
the
he
pages.
subverts constantly.
I don't know if that's a trick or a crutch.
Interesting question, because I like when they do that, but I don't like how he does it all the time. And from here on out, he does it all the time. Because of this book, right, which it ends with Cheryl killing off Victor while he's attempting to rape her, and Kingpin pays for Vanessa to leave to Europe, because even though, he earlier in the story calls one of his men to be murdered off a hunch.
Yep.
This is more, like I said, this is a story about Victor, which is he's got some sort of psychosis, and that's Miller likes writing about people that have arguments with themselves.
I wonder why.
Right, and then it's also a Kingpin story. It goes to show you how layered he is. He's a nut in his own right. Like I said before, he orders someone to be killed off of a hunch, right, off page. But then at the same time, he realizes his wife doesn't want to be with him, so she just like flies her to Europe. Yeah. That's that. And that's really that. That's all there is, really.
There's not a lot to it. I guess the question is really about Kingpin is what does a man do with all his power,
Yeah.
right? That's the love, I guess that's the war, right? So his point gets across, but this is definitely a book where the art outweighs the story. But it's interesting in terms of city planning, world
Yeah.
building. These are the characters that you need to understand in the world that I've built for Daredevil. You catch things the deeper you look into it, but like I never felt the need to want to dive deep into this side of the
Mhm.
world of Daredevil.
All right, moving on to 1993, Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. So he wrote Born Again in 87. Now he's back to in time, like in continuity, Daredevil.
Right.
Even though this is an offshoot story and it's not part of the actual ongoing series, this is more or less the reboot of his origin. Right? It's Daredevil year one, the same way we talked about Batman year one and Superman year one. Somewhere in the middle of those two. I would say.
It's more like Superman because they bounce around
Right.
with Murdoch
But the
Row.
quality is
Like,
more like Batman. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Because only the first I think issue is him as a kid, right? Or the first two issues?
yeah. And his dad. And you get to see his
Yes.
influence of like how abusive his dad is. And the one thing is his dad's still a boxer, like everything's still the same. And the whole like he's getting bullied at school by other kids and he stands up for himself. But I never got why his dad gets mad that he stands up for
He,
himself. Like he puts some kids in the place.
yeah, he does I think he's afraid that a chip off the old block, and once he gets the taste for fighting, he's gonna end up like his dad, who's basically owned by bookies and thugs, right? That's how I read it. Yeah,
That's a different conversation than just smacking your kid being like, don't fight.
his dad's a drunk, right? So it doesn't.
Yeah.
You're right because he calls on him and he's like, oh man, I should have done that.
Same origin story, right? I don't know how toxic spills work, but the truck veers over, toxic spills on his eye, he's
And now he's
blind,
a toxic Avenger.
goes to the gym. End it here. It's perfect. Goes to the gym and then Stick finds him. And I do love the origins with Stick because Stick's kind of the real father figure.
Yeah, and this is going back to his run in the ongoing series, his first one. Okay, we introduced Stick there, but now this is how he met Stick and how he knows Stick.
Mhm.
The same with Elektra. He brings Elektra again, and then his relationship with Kingpin. It's almost like It's interesting because he's in a way he's already told all this, but not quite to
Yeah.
this detail, right? He's kind of shifting the timelines a bit and starting brand new, right?
I honestly think the best stuff of it is the issues with Electric in
Mm-hmm.
it. They're flirting and then attraction and then immediate Stick being like, you don't want this world. While I don't think the first issue is strong, it's the second and third that really, for me, fly it
Yeah,
home.
and this is where you're talking about Mickey, right? The Lost Girl. She's in this, so she befriends Matt in his dad's old gym, and then Kingpin's underlings end up taking her. It ends up that's when Daredevil puts the black. He doesn't even have a costume yet, so he just puts on a black long sleeve, and then the black banning that he puts over his eyes looks really cool. Looks really cool. And
He does cool things and he does super creepy
yeah,
things, right? He meets Elektra and she's constantly driving and going off to snowy fields to like no shoes. I never got that. But when
yeah, I didn't get that either.
he sneaks into her bedroom, super creepy. But the one line of dialogue was, "Oh, a dog's coming. Dogs love Matt," and then he kicks the dog to the
Yeah,
throat,
yeah, yeah,
and then proceeds to like start muscling all the security guards. Who rightfully so, you broke into her
yep,
bedroom, you stuck in through her window. Like this guy's kind of a creep. He's questionable, right? Like this is beyond obsessive, but there's a level of Murdoch who's very obsessive that we're now starting to see, right? So I like the fact that like in this run you get to see how love really made him
yep,
crazy and like almost gets him killed. She digs that just as much as he does. He bleeds all the way out of the apartment back to
yeah,
his, and like obviously leaves a trail so anyone can find him. Foggy tries to get into this room, and he's like, "I can't." What? He's like, "Need a couple minutes, right?" And then they open the door, and like the whole world is turned upside down. Like they had just been feverishly
yeah,
fucking, and she just leaves with a
yeah.
smile and everything. And like he's bandaged up, but he's just like, "I found my dream girl." So like I like the recklessness of that dynamic.
Yeah, I like how Elektra loosens him up. He's a little uptight when you first meet him, but she loosens him up to like have some fun, like just let it go. This is where you were talking about like pushing out of windows. This is where she does it, right? She pushes out a window and
Oh, okay,
and
there's
she
this one.
messes around with him and she teases. His whole mentality is like she wants me to do it. Like she's
Yeah.
testing me, so I'm gonna. Like, I don't know if that's the right mentality to have to break into a female's room,
But
but
like he's disciplined at
yeah,
school, and a girl's like, "Hey, we should study." He's like, "No." And like the friend of the girl's like, "Creep." I'm like, how is he a creep for saying like no to
yeah.
this girl?
Dude's a
So
creep for
yeah,
saying no. Yeah,
it's funny to see that Matt's always been an outsider and puts himself as an outsider. The only person he really cares about is Foggy up until he meets
Yeah,
Elektra,
and then it's like,
and this
but
world
then it's like
completely
obsession, right?
changes. Yeah, I liked it.
It's good. It's a good one. If you ever want to, if ever someone ever was like, "Oh, how does a Daredevil start?" You read this. Here's Man Without Fear. You don't need anything else. Just how it goes. It introduces you to more or less all the main players, right? Elektra, Stick, Kingpin, Foggy. Here you go. Done.
Oh, my favorite scene is this. It's wild that the cops take down DD but don't pull off his mask.
Yeah.
And then anytime they let a blind man drive a car, I fucking howl. So he's just smashing in the cars. And again, it's funny. I don't know how your superpower lets you drive, but man.
Okay, and since we've talked so much about Elektra, we can move on to the solo Elektra things that Frank Miller wrote. Andrew,
It's interesting you call them solo when it's anything but just her.
did you read Bizarre Adventures number 28?
Where, like, is that the one where she runs off to an island to kill
Yeah,
someone?
yeah. From 1981, dude.
Is that the best Elektra story that he's written of these three? Yes.
I like it. I like it.
Of Elektra?
Yeah. Yeah, this one's probably the best one, actually. You're right. It's so short that it's. Anyways, Elektra and another man are on a ship that's about to blow. When it does, they join forces in the wreckage to get to an island where the man is set on killing von Eisenbluth in a revenge bid. Right as they approach the island, he knocks Elektra out and makes his way to the owner's home. Elektra outsmarts some bodybuild. That was weird, eh? Like she pulls up to the beach and those guys show up with like just speedos on. I just reading my notes, I remembered it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember all of it.
What is this island? Is this like
They're all
Dr.
the way.
Monroe or something?
That or Epstein.
But they're all big dudes. I don't know if
They don't discriminate on
The
the
big-
island. It's island of freaks. Yeah. Using
yeah,
caption,
those
bro.
big dudes show up and then she. Anyway, she's
Dumps them.
the crux of it is the person who hired her owns the island.
Is there a dog in this one too?
Yeah.
It's so weird. Who is this for? Who commissioned this? Who's like, hey, Miller, we need like 3 pages of
81,
Elektra.
so I don't think anybody was really. They're just like, yeah, sure, write a story, do it. Because it was one of it. Because Bizarre Adventures had like 4 or 5 stories in it. This is just one. This is just the
Yeah.
first one.
This was definitely a bizarre adventure.
Bizarre Adventures, right? Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of like I was thinking of like Tusk too. You know the movie Tusk? Yeah. The walrus
Yeah.
thing. Like she
Yeah.
shows up and the guy's just sitting there in the chair, and I was like, oh,
Something nefarious is going on that island. I kind of want him to finish that bizarre adventure, so I know exactly what's
Yeah.
going on. But I kind of don't because knowing Miller, it's not good.
no, it's not good. Because she shows up in time to kill the guy that she was in the boat with, but then von Eisenbluth kills him, and he's kind of like, yeah, I know he was yours to kill, but my pleasures are few these days, and it's been so long since I killed a Jew.
Your Miller is showing.
And that's how it ends. God bless you, Elektra. 86, 87, he wrote your absolute favorite story was Elektra Assassin. And this is, things get weird here. Things get weird. I enjoyed it more than you did.
There are things to enjoy. I agree.
There are things to enjoy. There you go. That's one way to say it. When I first read it, the first issue confused the shit out of me, and I was like, what is going on here? Because it's very dreamscapey, and it's drawn again by Bill, I can never pronounce his last name, Sienkiewicz, the same guy who did Love and War, the Daredevil Love and War story. So this art is back, and the art is wild.
Yeah, it's serial killer esque.
Okay.
It's like decoupaged. I'm trying to build off the whole like you get a sort of like feeling of things are disjointed, and you're not really connected to this world.
Might not be real.
And hallucination may be the best way to put it. Where Love and War is dreamlike, this is hallucinogen.
It's fever dream stuff. Mm-hmm. Especially that first
It's creepy. Yeah, because it goes through so many different art styles within the book, and then you don't really know where the narrative is coming from.
Well,
and what's real from what's not real, right? Like there's that one nugget of information that could be about her father, and I don't know if it's real or not, but that threw me for a loop.
It's a Miller thing again, right? He slides this little question in, like, was there?
I don't need him sliding anything.
That's so bad. They don't know what we're talking about, but
no, they do. They've read this.
But he slips in a little, like, you know.
Yeah, what does he slip in?
Just a tip. Just a little tip.
No, it's too much. It was too far. There's so many different ways you went away. You went too far. No tips.
Now we need a disclaimer. Now we need a disclaimer.
We always need a disclaimer. You just thought we could get away with it. But the last book ended with "It's been so long since I killed a Jew." So yeah, that's a disclaimer, buddy.
I mean, that was just von Eisenbluth showing his Nazism, I guess. His Miller was showing.
His Miller was showing. He's got 6 books with Nazis in
I
it.
know he does.
God damn it, man.
Or at least the swastika, right? Yeah, so the first issue is very dreamscapey, very feverish, and that's why I was confused. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do it.
Hallucinogenic. Stop saying dream-like. It's not dream-like.
I don't know if I can.
It's more of a nightmare.
I was like,
Fair.
I don't know if I can do 8 issues of this, but it doesn't stay like that. Instead, it actually shifts and becomes a little more cohesive. But then you're not really following Elektra. You're following. He's a cyborg shield agent, John Garrett.
And that's my biggest takeaway from this book. This is not an Elektra book. This is a Shield book featuring Elektra. And to call it that, at least you get 2-point bump because I'm not hoodwinked coming in.
Yeah.
And the framing would have changed how I look at the book, but I was more looking for more adventures of Elektra, and I don't really get that till the back end of the series, and I feel cheated. But the fact that he went back to another psychopath eating rats, his Miller is showing because he likes that thing about like you got to be trapped in a cave or a small area and you have to eat a rat. I laughed, but I wasn't impressed.
But it's weird because Elektra, in this story, I don't know if there's any other stories where she has the mind link powers in the possession. In this story, she can possess people's minds and she can link to mind. So she links to Garrett's mind, controls him on a mission to take down the presidential candidate who is possessed by the beast. So they'll prevent him from starting World War III. There's some signs of Ronin in here. Yeah. Right? 2 people or 1 or 2 people that are on this quest to take out like the most powerful person in the country. I go back and forth in this book because when I first read it, I was like, this is weird. And then when I finished reading it, I was like, this was really good. But then when I take a step back and look at it, I'm like, this is kind of too weird. But then I also remember like it's original. It's unique. I don't know. I'm weird on this book. I'm weird on it.
I get where you're coming from where there's stuff to enjoy, and overall it's probably not my favorite book from him. But if there's anything, if you wanted to kind of understand who Frank Miller is as a person and a man, I'd say it's this book. I think this book has more than enough symbolism and imagery to talk about what he believes in, who he is, and how he treats women that he puts on pedestals. Because if he's not a avatar for Frank Garrett, I don't know who.
John Garrett.
John Garrett. That's how much I hate the guy.
You know, like his coif, his toupee.
That's how I'm blending the two guys. I think Frank Miller is John Garrett to an extent because he's an alcoholic, kind of at the end of his rope. He was of a prestige with the Shield, which would be Marvel, but now he's on the outsides. The only thing kind of keeping him together is this one girl, which is Elektra. I would reread this book as putting Frank Miller in the shoes of John Garrett and see, because I think this is his final pushback of like, I'm done with you, Marvel, and I'll blow it up if I have to.
This could have been, yeah, because they had Man Without Fear came out after this, was in 93, right? But this was the one, I think the last one before that.
But Man Without Fear is definitely like, your editors are like, hey, this is what we need you to do. Where Elektra Assassin is like, hey man, you want to do Elektra book? He's like,
give us something. Yeah, I got an idea with her and Shield. Perfect.
I liked all the Nick Fury stuff in here. Like Nick Fury comes off like a beast.
So we've talked just earlier about how Frank Miller's redefined characters. I believe that this version of Nick Fury, this like Cold War, like it started here. Yeah, I think this is the archetype for Fury going forward was actually right here because he's kind of like this grouchy guy with heads in the right. I can say his heart, but his head was in the right place. He's for country. He's just kind of gruff, and everything's Cold War. Watch out for those Russians, and then like they have that cyborg division that kind of goes off on their own. And as soon as they step out of line, he's like, "Done, you're out." Like so,
it has a lot of interesting themes in it, but I don't know if he can tie it all together, which is what irks me. And really, the biggest irk is I get hoodwinked for Garrett when I don't want Garrett. I want Elektra, but there's such amazing moments in this, right? Like that underwater fight is crazy.
Really cool. The president of the United States, he's got the same face always, which is just like a placeholder. Like I thought it was really clever. It's like a placeholder for every other. See, now I'm starting to like it again when I talk about like
of Dan Quill. It's interesting to talk about, right? Like so, this is the difference of like there's books that you put on your shelf because you want to read, and like that's Born Again. It's on my shelf. If we went to a comic book class and they're like, okay, the next day we're discussing Elektra Assassin, man, you know how many theories I'd come in with the next day? it's a book that you need to kind of express outwardly because he has so many things that it seems like he's dealing with something. If not, for me, my interpretation of like this is I'm putting myself now in the story, and this is how I would operate. And there's a lot of his sort of mechanisms and his crutches revealed throughout this. There's like dead giveaways for me where like a quote from the book is my strength breaks against yours. I give myself to your every cruelty. You humiliate me, punish me. I beg you not to stop. And that's Garrett's interaction with Elektra as she's got him in a dog collar and like whips and chains and like basically BDSM. But like that's the beginning sort of looks of what inevitably ends up happening down in Old Town in Sin City world. So like he's for this one he scratches a lot of surfaces. For for like there's stuff I really want to do but I don't have enough time to do it. Even though it's like what 6, 7, it's too long too
Yeah, it's 8.
for all the
It's 8. That's a dream sequence that Garrett had because Garnet is he's he's possessed by this woman because she's linked, but he's also a cyborg, so he's confused already. He doesn't know what's real. This woman's in his mind. He's falling in love with her, but he hates her, and he doesn't know if he's falling in love with her because he's actually in love with her, or it's just because he feels close to her because of them. So there's a lot of like gray.
After saying that, do you think that was a Garrett problem or an actual Frank Miller
It's
problem?
Frank Miller thing. Like he set that whole thing up, right? Yeah, he's talking right through the character, isn't he?
I think he this is the book that he's working out some of his own limitations and so I'd love to meet the woman that like broke him.
He had a divorce at some point, so I mean,
All the ideas are interesting, but none of them are really fleshed out to like finish other than the assassination plot that kind of follows through in the end. No editor came in and be like, "That's not a lecture book, but we can definitely ship this as a Shield book," which would have been super interesting for
yeah,
him to
it
decide
should
like,
have.
"Hey, I want a small team of
Yeah,
Shield."
because even like there's Chastity, like there's Agent McBride, Chastity. She's interested in this. Nick
Yeah,
Fury's interested in this. John Garrett and his partner. There's some interesting characters there, and you have a point about like it's called Elektra Assassin, and it's
yeah.
not even it's about her, but it's not really her book,
About her.
right?
No,
Um, Also, I want to note that the was it the Prime Minister of Russia is called Vladimir Jakov. So there's that. I meant to write that down. The mind link thing was weird too. I think he was trying to.
egg beater stuff, and I don't like her with powers. To be
Yeah, I
honest
didn't
with
like
you,
it
it's
either
not the
because
power.
we talked about Love and War. I think that was kind of like, oh, that was the first time that Bill and Frank worked together, and they were kind of like, oh,
I like
I
this.
like this. Let's go even more this way, and this is what we get.
Imagine bringing Elektra back from the dead, and this is what you give me. Fuck out of here.
Because then there's Elektra Lives Again, which was written after this in 1990.
So like this is Elektra book kind of, but like this seems to be a slap in the face to like Marvel.
This is where it happens. Because we read so much at once, things are starting to get muddled here.
But
And by the time I got to this, I was like just sick of it because it's the same thing again. It's Elektra and Bullseye are back to life again. There's a grouchy Matt
yeah,
again. They have to mix it all together. I don't know what the point of this was.
well they're all dealing with their traumas differently, but it's all tied
Yeah.
together. And I like the Matt trauma because he can't handle shit. Like he's such a fractured man, and he's constantly like naked in like a G
Yes,
string.
but we've seen all this before, right? Like,
But that's the thing. Like this is why I think it's the slap in the face to Marvel because it's published through Epic.
mhm.
So I don't know if you're either trying to reclaim characters that were taken from you, or you want to undo what Marvel did to you by telling the story the way you want to tell it. And it's more of an Electro book.
Yeah.
So like there's a
The
point for it.
second half, especially, I think is really cool. The first half, I could kind of where Matt's just kind of moody. I was like,
Yeah.
I've seen this already. It's by this writer too. But
He's more Batman in this than anything.
yes, that's what I said. But Bullseye comes back, Electra comes back, and they have like a three-way fight in the church. That was cool, but they both end up dying anyways.
I don't get why everyone's like basically naked. I don't get like the eroticism that you're trying to get across here.
Yeah.
But I do get the emotional level. Is it more interesting than Assassins? No. But is it more coherent? Yes.
Can you?
It's a linear story. It's a beginning to end.
Yeah. Can you do me a favor? Just go to page 41, just real quick. Okay, you see the staircase?
Yep.
You see that
Yep.
the ground level? See the guy in the brown jacket? You know who that is? It's John Garrett. See the hair?
I do see the hair. Go up one level.
Yeah.
See the guy in the handcuffs
Yeah.
next to the cop
Yeah.
with the Hitler mustache.
That's Hitler.
Nazi.
Your Miller showing.
Your Miller showing.
It's funny.
I wouldn't be surprised if the staircase is in the form of a swastika.
Oh, would you imagine that? Eh?
I'm trying not to because now we're
I
both
just saw
looking to see if it is.
I just saw John Garrett and I was like, this is gonna be funny to show Dank because he hates him.
Yeah, and then I found Hitler instead.
Yeah, you found Hitler. Because it's funny, it's
So,
like, I said I'm a goddamn agent of watch your language, sir. I was like, oh yes, this is the hair. You just tire that book tires you out. Elektra Assassins tires you out, and then you jump into this one and it's like,
but this is like a breeze. I got through this really fast.
yes.
When I still have flashbacks of reading about like politics and those. There's a point to Assassins. Like he's trying to get. I have a point to make about government and like how government works. It's preachy. This one is not really preachy, but it's groany. Like I don't want to hear you bitch about shit that you're in control of or not in control of.
Yes.
And then unfortunately the art doesn't live up to the writing styles.
All right, let's talk about What If. There's 3 What If issues, all from the 77 run. So they all came out in the 82s. What if Daredevil became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
It's not great.
No, I'll be honest right now, none of these are actually that good. It's just, we read them because we had to. I don't really like What If stories, to be honest with you.
Yeah, all this changes is his outfit and his father figure.
Yep.
Nick Fury in blue.
That's it.
That's kind of it, man. There's not a lot to this.
Yeah, because the whole crux is that what if when Child Murdoch got hit in the face with the toxic goo, Tony Stark was there and flew him to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier. It was so weird because how did Hydra have a Murdoch dummy ready to go?
It's dumb. It's a what if. So that's the only way they get out of it.
Fair enough. That's all we need to say about it.
But all it really tells me is like I think Frank really wanted to do a S.H.I.E.L.D. book.
Yeah, because he keeps teasing around it, right? What if Bullseye had not killed Elektra? So in this reality, a prison guard snipes Bullseye on his way, trying to escape from prison, and kills him. And since she failed in her mission, Kingpin calls for Eric Slaughter to send his men to kill her off instead. Her being Elektra. They find her, and she fends them off, and eventually Matt finds her too, and they run off together because he can't turn her in. The end.
I get that it's a love story, but it completely neuters all the characters in this entire world. It's sad that I don't want to see any of you guys happy.
Yeah.
Which is the takeaway is like, I don't want your happy ending.
What if Daredevil were deaf instead of blind? It's like, well, it's like a joke issue, right? They had the number 34 was a whole bunch of different ones, but it's pretty funny because it's just him fighting some goons, and they're just talking smack, and he's like, "What's that? You gotta speak up. Can't hear you." It's like 5 frames. Stop mumbling! Stop mumbling! Speak up!
I really just wanted to see him wail on somebody, be like, "Yeah!" Just punch it. Just going ham. That's the one. Oh, actually, no. Here's the second inappropriate joke. As we tail end this section of Frank Miller's Daredevil, it's insane that his first half has managed to turn what is the most handy-capable superhero into such a menacing force in Marvel that, ironically, the people that Daredevil would make feel better about their lives can't read the book.
The punchline got me right before you said it.
God forbid I was blind. Like, this is the character that I want to read about. Like, his blindness is never used as against him.
Hey, this guy like crushes women like it's nothing.
I don't know if they make this book in Braille. Yeah. You're kind of doing a disservice if you didn't, because how the fuck do you not make a handicap book handy-capable? What if? Okay,
there's one last issue we want to get to. It has Daredevil in it, but it's not a Daredevil book. It's from 1981. It's a Marvel team-up issue, annual number 4, called Power Play. Okay, we have to do this, all right? Okay. We didn't talk about the things he drew for Marvel, but, like, come on. And I'm very tired.
Honestly, I'll say about this book, I wish they kept doing books like this.
This is fun.
This is fun and enjoyable.
And silly, yeah.
You get to see all the characters play off each other and then be like shtick funny. Because essentially, hearing aids saves the day.
Yes.
Like earplugs.
Yes.
And it's so dumb, but like, it's deservedly. Like, I didn't feel cheated by the time I got to that.
It all starts with Spider-Man. He comes across the accident with Purple Man, who ends up making him recite Elvis Costello on a lamppost. Like, right there, you know, it's like, this is going to be one of those books.
we talk about influential. This is kind of how I want to see a MCU one
Yeah,
shot. I just want a day where they randomly all bump into each other and be like,
for no reason.
this is where comics were built. There's a certain carefreeness to this team up. And again, you get to see, so it has Daredevil, Spider-Man, Moon Knight, Heroes for Hire, which is Luke Cage and Iron
Mhm.
Fist. And then Wilson Fisk getting to be the, well, I'll get you, and then slamming his fist on the table. It's not a man without fear. It's a man that has a sense of humor.
Yeah,
So,
it was like you said. It's cold water and earplugs save the day.
yeah. The cold water.
Daredevil has this like this idea that if you splash people with cold water, it can snap them out of Kilgrave's or Purple Man's like influence, and it works to his
Yeah.
credit. But the earplugs
Man,
work even better.
kids must have been dumb. Imagine seeing this for the first time if you were just reading one of those titles.
I think it'd be
itself.
awesome as a kid because you have all your heroes in one spot, and they're all fighting the Purple Man, who they make very menacing in this, but it is dumb. It's dumb as hell. Love it. Yeah. And Purple Man's he actually is a perv in this too. Remember he's tries to feel up the girl, and he's like, "Oh, come on, nobody has a conversation with me."
And Moon Knight actually shines. I think he's the strongest character in this.
Eat your cake. Eat your cake.
I want you to eat your cape. Eat your cape.
Defining moment my entire career would be when I launched my Sin
I
City
can't hear
series.
you.
It was the first time I ever
Footman is
wrote, drew,
he's got this
and
whole,
created
like,
out of whole
event
cloth
center.
the entire
He's
series.
gonna
And
reveal
for me, that was a
Daredevil's
terrific restart to my
secret
career.
identity. Yeah.
It was like being
But Daredevil
born
has
again.
that guy with a cigar next to him, so he starts a fire.
What do you think of the fire that got started by a cigar? Just sitting in the seat and then woof, the whole place is engulfed.
But then they have to all those heroes that Dank noted earlier. They all have to come together and fight Purple Man, and
They really don't.
they don't. Two of them,
Like half of those guys
as
had to show
Daredevil
up.
and Moon Knight stay back. Everybody else goes out in the street and fights
The assembling of this crack
unnecessary.
shot team was not
No.
needed. So I like the fact of excessive force. And Luke Cage is busting through walls.
Busting through.
Like,
How about
just destroying everything.
how about when they take?
Don't they tip over a water tower?
I was just thinking of the water tower, and they're cheering while everybody's drowning. Like they dump the water tower on top of the entire crowd, and they're like,
This should have been a what if. It's like, what if your superheroes were not good at their
"Oh,
job?
this is in canon. This is such good. Could you imagine? Imagine this was his last work with Marvel. That'd be so funny. This is how he left. It's not. This was what did I say? 81.
How would you rather leave Marvel? With a Marvel team up like
Yeah.
this, or Elektra
This
Assassins?
one, man. This is the way to go. You leave it on a high note, not a confusing note. So once he was done with DC and Marvel, which you've already covered, he went on to Dark Horse to do his own thing.
Went down the street.
Down the street. And that's when the creative control really began. Now, I don't know if it was Hardboiled or Martha Washington first thing that he put out.
I would assume it was Different Times of Martha Washington, because there's just a little reference to Pax in Hardboiled. I think he was thinking about Martha Washington before everything, because the amount of ideas that he stuffed into that was pretty crazy.
They both came out in 1990. Give Me Liberty was first, but they both came out the same year.
Yeah, one has a story, and then Hardboiled is kind of like an idea.
They were exactly, because the first issue of Give Me Liberty was June, and then second one was September, and then Hardboiled came out between the second and third issue of Give Me Liberty.
Start with the good stuff.
I almost said Hardboiled.
But again, like as we were saying, it's more of an idea. So
Yeah.
if Hardboiled is in the universe of Marcia Washington as opposed to Washington's in the universe of Hardboiled, but I still think they're connected somehow, just off of the reference. Of
Really?
Pax. I do.
Interesting. I couldn't read them as like more different if I tried, but
They are, but like his pacing and his sensibilities and his view of the future all seem on the same sort of line. Like he always builds a compacted technological government looking down on you, big brother sort of. The world is out to get you if you don't pay attention. So I could easily see like if like Hard Boiled is happening 10 years down the line.
Fair enough. No, he makes no note that they're actually connected, but you're just saying like the idea there.
The one click I have is packed has a like a reference point in Hard Boiled, which I thought was cool.
Oh, okay. I missed that. I think I read Hardboiled first. Okay, cool. I didn't realize that. Nice pickup. What do they say about it?
It's like it's a panel, and you see in a TV screen that somebody's watching, soldiers wearing a PAX helmet,
I missed that completely.
and that's enough
Well
for me to be like,
done.
okay, sweet. I guess we're talking about Hard Boiled, but because the
Yeah, I
artwork
guess
is
so.
it's so dense and so eye drawing, and there's a lot of the action is more of the storytelling as opposed to the actual like thought bubbles or exposition, because there's a lot of pages of just art.
Environmental storytelling.
Yeah, that you're just looking around and seeing everything that in there. You get the sense that this future is so congested and squeezed and squished together that it's hard for anyone to breathe. And it's kind of true because nobody is technically breathing with the concept that he's trying to bring out there, right?
Yeah, the dystopian future. This one he didn't draw. He drew. Jeff Darrow drew. Actually, a lot of his Dark Horse stuff.
Somebody else drew.
Yeah, except for Sin City.
I think that was his shining grace in this run.
Yeah, let him focus more on
Concept,
the writing
and
side of it. Yeah,
story and development, and let other people kind of take that vision and give it a different light.
Mhm.
He's not this detailed, and there's certain pages and panels of this, even though we're doing a Hall of Fame for writers, but like that looks like a Where's Waldo book. It's beautiful to look at. Like you see all these individual wires on trains and like the thought process of how they wanted the organic versus techno organic things to look. Like I love that. That helped the story really fly for me.
So the Where's Waldo grab, that's an awesome note because it does, especially like in the ending when he's walking through and
Yeah.
everything. I liked the art in this a lot. I thought the art was
Mhm.
awesome in
Mhm.
Hardboiled, actually. Jeff Darrow. It was awesome. And it's a story about dystopian future. And it's you sent a note to me. Do you want to say it again here? You texted me about this.
Which one?
He's in like the
Touch
Matrix.
so much trash. Oh yeah.
That's a good point. He's
Okay,
kind of like
yeah,
in the Matrix. It opens with the scientist being told a robot of his is going haywire, and it cuts to a dude in a downtown area fighting all sorts of people and cars and things. He's just going nuts though.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
They're cutting it with somebody being like, "Oh my god, the robot's going crazy. We gotta shut him down, shut him down." So right away, you know that this guy, the main guy, Nixon,
Mhm.
the tax collector, we find out is just like going off on people. This is the real world, right?
Again, there's so many things that he leaves kind of stuff ambiguous,
Mhm.
but this is definitely the way that the story is built. It gave me connection of if you ever seen the Michael Douglas movie Falling Down,
No,
which is he's just a clear cut everyday guy that like basically is accountant and businessman, and this one day he has the worst day and just decides to take it out on the city. So like he leaves his car, buys a gun, and it's a crazy movie. It's actually
that's
pretty
awesome.
good, right?
That sounds awesome.
1993. Everything that kind of happens in this is not beat for beat, but so reminiscent of like I could see somebody just snapping. Like this was the day that I decided to snap and I took it out on the world, right? Plus the whole Matrix vibe of it, of
Yeah,
Matrix in like Brazil, like it's got. I keep using the word congested, and that doesn't sell how much I love how it looks, because to give such a dystopian environment is pretty easy and we've seen it done, but usually people fall short with like the blandness of it and like the dreariness. It pops. And there's a certain point where like even our lead character like kind of looks like Hellboy too, like with the way
Yeah.
that he ends up popping out. So there's so many little references that I pull from other comics and other media that make me enjoy this story, and the fact that I don't know if he's plugged in or I still empathize with him. So it's like it's a crazy sort of mind fuck of
it is.
can I really cheer for this robot? Like you're not supposed to, right?
Yeah, it's a huge mindfuck in a book. It's interesting because it's like it's a robot that this company created, and he's a tool used by a corporation to kill off the competition.
Yes.
In one issue, he's a tax collector named Nixon. The next one, he's Carl Seltz, the insurance investigator, and they keep bringing him back whenever he malfunctions, and he malfunctions a lot, and mind wiping him, and then giving him a new name and everything. And he goes out there and he's like, "I'm so and so. I'm a tax collector," but then he just starts shooting people.
And you can kind of say this is the blueprint to how many movies that have had a lot of these similar ideas.
Yep.
And even the point that like it's a graphic book, man. Like even
Yeah.
the robots get fucked up. Like even the little girl whose head explodes at one point. It's not
My favorite part is when he meets the other robot. He meets the one robot that's gone rogue, and she's like, and
Right.
she's trying to convince him, like, listen, you're basically in the Matrix. Why don't you come out with me and we can kind of like keep each other company? And he's kind of like, but I'm not a robot. I'm Nixon, the tax collector, and his face is like melting off his robot. He's like, I don't. It's like, then why do you look like that? He's like, I don't know. I'm just a tax collector. It's like, it's so funny to me.
And ultimately doesn't take her side and likes her out. Like,
Yeah, but my point was gonna be that Miller can be surprisingly funny. We've said
Yeah.
this before about Daredevil stuff, but he has this way of making things like his comedic beats hit often for me.
Yeah.
Because it's just like so absurd. It's like that's what he's like, what are you talking about? I'm a tax collector. What are you talking
Stop
about?
that. Like she tries to rub
Yeah,
up on him
yeah,
and like make a move and everything. And it's amazing. They kind of look like
Yeah.
Red Pill, Blue Pill, or
Yes,
like Rock'em
yeah.
Sock'em Robots.
Yeah.
But even the intro of it, right? Because you're not too sure what you're reading and like how it's formulating, and you kind of get lost so quick into this world. It's such a quick read, which you can't really say for a lot of Miller stuff.
Yeah, because it's like you said, it's more environmental storytelling. It's 3 issues. What did you think of the big bad guy that you don't really know the name of? The big dude.
I think it makes sense because
Yeah.
like if that's capitalism and that's like
Yeah.
gluttony, it would be the fat cat at the top. Strength to the art, like there's certain scenes where I just couldn't stop laughing because he's just an oozing blob.
It's obscenely big.
Such a Jabba the Hutt. This feature is crazy, like crazy.
Funny, man. I'd love to see this as like an animated short. Like you just
Oh
like,
my gosh.
it'd be hilarious.
I don't know if you could do this as a television show, but this movie would be insane.
It'd be like an hour and 10 minute, like a 70-minute, I guess Adult Swim type thing, but I was thinking more like late night Teletoon.
Right, but like go back to like Wizards or like all those
Yeah.
old Lord of the Rings, like go back to the rotoscoping. Like this is actually perfect to do that. If you can
Yeah.
get the background with it, it'd be fucking insane.
It's weird. Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it more than I thought I would because it's just, it works.
Doesn't overstay its welcome.
And when you compare it to the rest of his work, it does stand out.
Yeah.
Right? It does stand out for the way it tells a story, even though it deals with robots and dystopia and stuff, which he does fairly often. It's just the way he tells it is different. So, yeah, it stood out for me.
The blessing is he didn't come back to this world to ruin it.
No, he didn't. Because that's what we noticed, didn't we?
Anytime he doubles back, we're like, no, you had us at the first one. Leave it alone.
You can tell the things that he really, really like believes in, which is like a good thing. But you can tell because he just runs them into the ground.
Yeah.
Look at the Batman stuff we talked about. Like the Dark Knight stuff went on for way too long. Daredevil, I think, didn't go on for too long because he told concise stories, but then Elektra did. The way he kept telling Elektra stories was like,
and then
what
he
are we
wanted to
doing?
branch out, right? Like for the life of me, hate John Garrett, but that's your boy now, so you can't get enough of John Garrett.
Okay, so now on to Martha Washington. This is a much more dense.
Yeah.
And the first one is Give Me Liberty. This is all collected in, like you're saying, the life and times of Martha Washington in the 21st century.
Yes.
All his work, his Martha Washington work, is collected in there. But there is 3 main arcs, which is Give Me Liberty, Martha Washington Goes to War, and Martha Washington Saves the World. And they span from 1990 to 1998 in there. And then there's some interstitials, right? Hybrid Martha Washington Dies, which is after all this. It's 2007. And Martha Washington Stranded in Space. Those are just one shot. But Give Me Liberty is the main one.
Right. I just thought a genius sort of trope that he used in it was the time jumps and just the big banners of like, this is what 2000 is going to look like, right? Because in 1995, nobody knows anything that's going on. And the world that you end up painting, we're not that far off of. So like his timeline may have been off, but I can imagine reading this in like 95, 96 being like, fuck, it's not looking good.
Well, that's the thing. He wrote this in 1990. About 1995 is when she's born, but the series takes place mostly when she's about 15, 16, right?
Yeah. We'll start.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it starts in 95 when she's born, but so you're right. He's not, it's kind of freaky how close he was to everything. And what I really liked that the first issue is what really captured me. When you got like Martha, Pope, Iceman, Thunderballs, the president, the green. It's so cool. Like they got this, the way they have their ghettos set up is they have this building, this huge building complex called the Green, and they just pack in everybody. Yeah, they just pack in people, and there's no roads inside of it. It's just little streets,
can't fit a car in here.
Sidewalks,
You gotta walk, and if you walk, you gotta make sure not to dress like a girl. He didn't pull any punches in that first issue in like those first 5 pages, so I get what you're saying. Like this is probably the best one to enjoy, but man, it like you're desensitized immediately because any sort of hope kind of just trips away with what Martha's got to go through. And as strong as she is, man, he didn't give her like chance.
No.
that she's been fighting since she was like 6.
No, an example of how dark it is too is you're saying when you're a young girl in the green, because there's no cops, it's just the green. It's just people
Yeah.
just police themselves, so you can't go dressed like a girl. So then she's dressed like a boy, and she still gets kidnapped,
Yeah.
taken to Pope, who I thought was gonna be a major player, but anyways, he takes him to Pope, and then when they undress her, he's like, "Oh, it's a girl. Never mind, I don't want her after all." So it's like you're not safe if you're a boy or a girl.
But
It's
like that
she-
flip was so much more sinister. Like
Yes.
already I was like holding my breath because we walk past Iceman. I was like, oh crap, because I thought Iceman was gonna be the one that they take him to.
Yeah,
And then dude's like, nah, this is not what I like. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
no. And then Iceman gets up to like take care of Thunderball. And I was like, God damn it.
yeah, really, really dark stuff. I was like, wow. So your point, desensitized immediately.
Immediately. And any chance for her to like enjoy and thrive. Because that scene is cut with her like in school. And school is kind of looking like what school looks now. Like everyone's packed in on their own screen, kind of doing their own thing. And it's up to that one teacher to decide like, okay, cool. Like you have some promise here. Like you're showing some interest in computers. She finds a way to like jerry rig the computer and cheat the test. And he's like, you're smart. Like I'm going to take an interest in you and like help you along the way, right?
And what's cool with this world too is that, sorry, just to mention the teachers thing, is that the teachers are brought from outside the green.
Yes.
That's really cool. That's a cool aspect.
What we're not talking about is how political this book is, and it's unbelievably political, right? Like Rexall. But there's these little touch tones of what an outside world would bring, and especially to a child. Like he just brings her sandwiches at some point, like after school, and she has a baked in memory of like, this is the best sandwich I've ever had because it's from the outside, right? So he starts to build that dreamlike sense of like, she just wants to escape what this world is and go out into where she thinks the green grass is, right? And how quick she sees her way out is joining PAX. And it's like, oh man, like we've seen this time and time again. Like this is literally how they get you.
Mhm.
And PAX is
It's a peacekeeping force, yeah.
for America.
What's funny is that she sees it as the way out, but then that's not even the way she gets out. She has to be traumatized and gets thrown into like the loony bin. But while she's there, she realizes that the more crazy I act, the longer I'm going to stay out of the green.
Yeah.
So then she starts leaning into like the trauma and the craziness about it until everything kind of goes to shit. It's
that trauma was even crazier than the initial first pages because her teacher ends up getting switchbladed to his neck by Iceman. So she takes the scythe that Iceman uses and necks him. And like she's sitting in a locker, just like she's frozen in a position because she can't speak and she doesn't have the words. And they just basically move her into the loony bin without her like any sort of consent, traumatized, and she's so shook that we just moved her into like this new population, and it sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah, and she's in this like she's in the asylum, and it's so funny because it's President Rexall, who's you think he's kind of a nice guy, but he's not, and he throws away the 22nd Amendment, so he just keeps getting reelected. He's on like his 4th term and counting. So it's America is literally shaped in his image right now.
What throws me off is like they're in this loony bin, and I guess it's for me it's a sort of a farm, right? Like they're just trying to figure out what they can do with these kind of inmates and stuff. But there's this side plot with these precogs, for lack of a better word. If anyone's seen Minority Report, the bald-headed swimming people that they hooked up to microbes to test the future, they have their version of this. But again, this was Cabbage Patch Doll kids that I guess have some sort of.
They are children, right?
I'm
not sure if they're children or if they're little.
There's no backstory to it, and there's no real understanding of true purposes other than like we can kind of farm them and keep doing tests on them.
Psychic warfare, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't know if they started off this way or like they were just mutated from testing on testing on testing.
Yeah.
And that's where like this book starts to take a completely different shift. This book is crazy for the fact that you can't really predict where it's going, or
because think of this world that we're building in. Like he's layering things on one at a time, and you're starting to get a real idea of what it's like there. You got the green, which is like their ghetto.
Right.
You get outdoor teachers teaching them things. Then you have the insane asylum that she gets thrown into, where they're working with precogs, like you were saying, like these mutant, maybe children things. Then there's the health police, who are like the medics that run around, but they just body snatch people.
They're SWAT. They're SWAT with like in hazmat suits, just snatching them off the street, which is wild.
And they just come around, they just grab people and like sedate them.
They're like ICE.
Yeah. And they're run by the Surgeon General, who's literally a surgeon. And
that was pretty funny. Yeah.
That was hilarious. And he can't even talk properly. He speaks like, "Oh, bad girl, gonna get rid of you." Yeah, that's right. And then you find that the health police are all a bunch of clones like stormtroopers. It's like
It goes off the radar, and he pulls you back by saying her only way out was to join PAX. Like the only way out was the military. Like I have to really get out of here. And for me, that's where you get to see the flip of what green represents, right? Because there's this whole jungle motif that goes through this entire book that I fucking love, of how like the jungle is where she found her home, but the jungle is where she sees the most trauma.
Yep, yep, yep. And then the president, so the White House gets blown up too, and because everybody that was like next in line was in the White House died, the
Yeah.
Secretary of Agriculture gets sworn in as the next president, and he's cool and he's
Yeah.
good, and he's like he wants to make all these changes, but then like throughout this whole story, you can see how everything slowly drives him more and more mad into to alcoholism until he's like completely taken advantage of.
That and the villainous rise of Lieutenant Moriarty,
Yes,
who's just an asshole. Like
who
goddamn
starts
it.
as a nobody.
And becomes almost the most important person in the military.
Yeah, yeah,
And
works his way up.
a lot of kicking too, like, which always made me laugh. Like just like I really enjoyed the warfare that they used, right? Because they used chemical warfare on the field, and you see how that like just destroyed the population.
It
And
did,
then
and then it affected her hair. She was the only
Yeah.
one that survived because she had the gas mask. She's so resourceful, Martha, in this book that you can't help but, and she doesn't really stir up shit. She just reacts to everything around her. So it's like she's hard to not like.
Listen, I love her. That's the problem of this book. It's so sad what she's forced to endure and survive based on everything thrown against her. He kind of wrote the best Superman, which was a black woman, and just watched her rise despite everything saying, "No, you stop here," through the hardest conditions, right? So we were talking about this off air. Like, we're so surprised this didn't get turned into a movie, a TV series, like something. Like, there's so much depth in the character analysis. There's so much that rang true. It's crazy.
Yeah, and there's twists and turns that you said from what's her name, Moretti.
Yeah.
He's basically a turncoat, and she
Yeah.
discovers that, but because of the way things play out, he uses that to his advantage, and nobody ever finds out. She doesn't say anything because she's just like,
She
"Who's gonna
can't.
believe
Like,
me?" Yeah,
when they show up in the hospital, like he threatens her, like chokes her, and
Yeah.
like throws the slurs at her. It's the role that Gary Sinise was born to play. He starts off good, and then the slow turn, like I can't trust this guy. And it's like, no, you should have never trusted this guy. There's amazing stuff that he sets up with that Raggedy Ann doll that comes back into play.
Oh, I just had to look up who that guy was, and you're absolutely right. That's why I was like, wait a second, who is that? Yeah, that's a great Moretti. Yeah, okay, sorry.
But the fact that this is the first time where Miller incorporated a fair amount of politics, and for me it worked.
Yeah,
Like it helped progress the plot and understanding the universe. This one, it makes sense. And the fact that there's a certain point where like he redraws the American map and he shows the different flags in
Oh,
the different regions.
dude, I
Man,
had that was my favorite part of the whole thing was just how America devolves into nothing when the president is killed and then replaced by like I said, the agriculture dude who signs all these treaties with like the Apaches and he gifts them an oil refinery, which I think was I see what you're trying to do, but maybe that's not.
listen, I'm in agriculture. I'm going to do the oil. Like that's
Yeah.
against everything that I've worked for. So if you want this,
It ends up
Yeah.
poisoning them and stuff because
backfire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like that's the government. Like even when they're helping you, they're really
Yeah.
hurting you. There's so many great themes that goes through it. It sucks that like Martha Washington has to go through it. Listen, she's one of the strongest heroines I've seen read in a comic in a long time. And we completely missed over this, how many things that we've read, right? So I'm super surprised that this didn't come across my table earlier.
Yeah, this is the first I've ever even heard of this, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Really crazy. And then we found it here and I was like, this is dope. I didn't even
It's
text you
good.
about it. So like we'll talk about it when the
Yeah,
show
it's good.
comes on because this is awesome. There's the arrogant thrust. America's future is white and male and gay. And I was like, this is so
It's
funny.
hilarious. But like people would say that's the agenda. There's that whole like Burger Boy thing with that
There's
giant
really-
like
yeah,
robot dude, and like you can talk about like how America just got kind of fat with so many ways, but they let their fast food dictate their capitalism. So like this guy was hitting on all cylinders, I think, in this one.
Yeah, because like you're saying that they're fighting the fast food companies in the rainforest. They want the rainforest for their fast food companies, and they're like,
Yeah.
the PAX is fighting them. But then when you get to you're talking about the nation divided. There's like the New England Federation of States, the East Coast Capitalism Dictatorship, the First Sex Confederacy, Florida, the Lone Star Republic, the Mexican Territory, Real America, which is like right in the center, Wonderland, and God's Country. And the United States of America is like just a small portion now.
Yeah, all those things are kind of like ringing true now. Like
Yeah,
they may not have
well, stereotypes.
retreaded the borders, but there's definitely specific states that are like, no, we empathize with these guys over here more than the United. So it's crazy how much foreshadowing and how ahead of the curve he was with all the stuff that he was talking.
Yeah, I love this one. I thought it was awesome. Which leads to 1994's Martha Washington Goes to War, which is a 5-issue sequel. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word sequel. I'm very tired right now. To get that
Everybody take a drink. There you go.
And this is a fallout from the first book, obviously. And it's 3 years later, so Martha's now 19, which is crazy to think that in Give Me Liberty, basically the whole time she's 16.
Yeah,
So
but again,
there's no need for her to be that young. But I guess at the same time, just
but that
the
was
way her
war.
life
Like,
unfolded. Yeah,
listen, they were enlisting at a certain point. They had to up the age to 18, but like that's kind of how it was. Kind of America.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, she's 19-year-old and she's fighting for PAX against the rest of the segregated United States. Wasserstein, the Apache, comes back.
Yeah, that was
Raggy
weird.
Ann comes back, and the Surgeon General comes back.
He ran out of a couple ideas for
The Raggy Ann.
Ghost of War. Yeah, well, like even
Ghost of
in
War.
the first run, there's a whole space plot line that we didn't go into, and
Well,
I'm
that's
glad
the
we
thrust,
didn't.
Arrogant thrust.
I get it, but like it wasn't needed. He had everything he needed on ground. He didn't really need to lead.
Mm-hmm.
So when they do Ghost of War, like that shit's like they're on space stations now. It's like, no.
Well, they're the one satellite, right? They have the Harmony. They have Harmony, which is the tethered satellite. In the next one, they go up into space. But Goes to War is that's where they have the satellite. And America, because she's fighting against all these different fronts, there's one front that's like nuclear. That's like in the center of the country. So they have this. They being PAX have this satellite that they use there as their HQ, and they find out there's rumors of these ghosts. Right, you were talking about the ghosts, right? On the battlefield, and these ghosts are just basically people in their quote unquote Iron Man suits that go invisible. And
it's okay.
I liked it because for different. I didn't like it as much as Give Me Liberty, but I liked that this one was a little more focused. It was like, okay, here's just her at 19 on the front lines. We go back into the Harmony, and then when she realizes like the whole nuclear core thing is just a smoke and mirror stuff, and then she finds Wasserstein again, and Raggedy Ann doesn't play like a big role in this one, which is fine because she was big in Give Me Liberty.
She's there.
Yeah, she's just there in this one, and
he progressively loses steam off of this idea. There's still good things about it, but he was firing on all cylinders with the first one.
Oh, it's definitely the best one. And this one, the second one, Goes to War, is good too. It's just not as good. And then
progressively they get worse.
Yeah, I was figuring out how to say like the first one's the one you need to read, and if you like it a lot, then read this one. I would not recommend the third one, which is Saves the World, which is like fully in space. And it deals with AI trying to take over and aliens, and I think it just kind of gets a little too much out there for my liking.
You can see what he really loves.
Aliens and AI.
When he gets to cook. Well, he loves robots. Like he loves
he loves the future.
The future is going to destroy us.
Yeah. Really believes that because in a lot of his books, that's the theme.
yeah. He's never wrong. It's just, come on. Like, I read these to escape the sadness of my life, not to remind me that there's a ticking clock.
Then there's the 3 one-shots. Happy Birthday, Martha Washington, which is a group of short stories. Neither here nor there.
Still works, give or take.
There's also Stranded in Space. This one is interesting because it springboards the Big Guy and the Robot Boy series.
Nice.
Right? She was the clone in space, and they pulled into an anomaly where they meet a giant robot called Big Guy from an alternate planet Earth. And his Earth is beautiful because they're up in space because their Earth has been destroyed by all the wars and stuff like that. So they see his Earth, and he's like, "Why don't you just stay here?" And they're like, "Oh, I guess we could." The whole idea is like, we could stay here, but it's not our home, so we got to go back, type thing. But that's where he starts from, and then he has his own series. I think only a few issues. We didn't read that for this though. And then there's Martha Washington Dies, which takes place in 2095, was written in 2007. And it's her final chapter. She's surrounded by friends, allies, and family as she looks back at the things she's done before and how far she's come. And on her 100th birthday, she passes away. And it's more just like a look back at how far they've come, which is, I mean, it's still war torn. So I don't know. So,
Nothing got better.
yeah, exactly. But she's, I guess, in a better place, right? But 300 was written in 1998. Story of 300 Spartans who took on a much larger army of gathered nations under the flag of the Persian Xerxes. You've seen the movie, you've seen this, right?
Well, you read this and then you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the order.
Yeah.
But it's so weird that in everything that we've read with Miller, he loves soldiers, and like soldiers definitely a theme.
Yeah.
But this is basically him saying like soldiers are cool, but Greeks fuck. This is how wars are supposed to be fought. Like you feel like he's got a raging clue for this story that he got to write.
It's a great pull. And this book is like under 100 pages long.
Yeah.
It's not even that long of a book. It's good. The main difference here between this and the movie, we don't talk about the movie, but the one thing I noticed is that this one has dicks out.
Yeah.
Whereas the movie they have loincloths on. I think that's the biggest difference.
Is that what you remember about the movie? The
Yeah,
Lorians?
that's all I remember.
Just amazing quotes in this too, right? Like our arrows will block the sun, and then like we'll fight in the shade.
Yeah.
And this is such a slow burn because for me, the book doesn't really pick up till Xerxes and the Immortals come to like battle.
Yeah.
Everything is just preparation of like, who's fucking with the Greeks? Don't fuck with the Greeks. All right, we gotta go fuck. Who really don't have much to their name other than their fighting style, right? Like they've just been hardened by life. There's a theme that I think Miller likes. If it's a hard upbringing, it's gonna be a terrible adulthood, but they're going to get their blood in, right? They're gonna get their licks, they're gonna get their shots off, right? So you get these like flashbacks of like how these boys were already trained to be soldiers by fighting wolves.
Yeah.
Basically, and this is not a story with a lot of characters and a lot of exposition and a lot of character analysis. It's like, this is our leader. We have to go protect the line. It doesn't overstay its welcome for me.
One thing that I didn't quite remember was the political intrigue with this one, where like before they go for their march to try and defend themselves, Leonidas goes to talk to like the sages or whatever.
The Republic.
Yeah, and they've been paid off to tell him not to
Yep.
go, and so he finds a way around it where he's like, "I'm not taking an army. I'm just going for a walk, and I just have 300 royal guards." So it's not like, so they don't even announce that they're marching. They're just saying we're just going for a stroll. It's just cool how like he did it anyways. It feels so quick because it's only like 90 something pages, and there's not too much dialogue, so it does happen very quickly. But it's fun. It's a good read.
It's a great story about ants. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
There's always one ant left to tell the story, and like again, it stayed more with me than I thought it was going to.
And his art really works in this too. His art looks great in this. It's not the Rush Miller. It's
amazing.
We did talk about that during his Dark Knight runs, but
Bending these days, yeah.
I can't believe we didn't mention this. Give Me Liberty, the Martha Washington stuff, is drawn by the Dave Gibbons.
Yeah, amazing. Which really helps the book, by the way.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that exact thing. It really helps.
Anyone on your bingo card, you could
take a shot.
Yep.
All right, what are we missing here? We are RoboCop vs. Terminator, 1992. Okay, I'll tell you what. Oh, Xerxes. Did you read Xerxes?
It's terrible.
Right?
No, I told you
if
how.
You tell me what Xerxes, I'll tell you what RoboCop Terminator. Go ahead.
I don't get it. That's why I wanted you to read it. I don't know who it's for.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. It's kind of a backstory.
What's the crux of it? Oh, okay.
It's telling you the man who would become Xerxes and why he becomes Xerxes, but it's really just like more of a art montage because he's trying out some cool art styles. Mm-hmm. But I thought there's no real story and it's disconjected, and it's how Xerxes takes over another man's war. And it's like, right. It was such a weird choice. But then you look at some other art pages and it's just like, so like it makes for interesting panels. But the story's so fucking flat. That's why I was like, and it's such a fast read. I was like, I wasted my time reading this. Who wanted this? Nobody was asking.
Yeah, this is 2018 too, by the way. Like he did this like fairly recently-ish.
Listen, if somebody likes it out there, please write in and tell me what I'm missing. But I thought it was a waste of time, to be honest.
Yeah, it is called, for the record, Xerxes, The Fall of the House of Darius and the Rise of Alexander. It's one of his last books. Yeah. Actually, which is interesting.
That tells you a lot more than you want to admit. That's some of his worst material, to be honest with you.
Well, we didn't mention that in 2022 he does Ronin Part 2, which we don't cover in this Hall of Fame. Yeah, but I think we'll cover it as a AA or something down the line.
Are we gonna do like just the bad versions of
Yeah, no kidding. That doesn't need a sequel, especially 40, 50 years later. Okay, so RoboCop versus the
Let's
Terminator.
do it.
It's Frank Miller, drawn by Walter Simonson. So the idea, this centers around a soldier from the future and RoboCop. And the soldier from the future's name, her name's Flo. And basically, in her future, Skynet runs the world, obviously. But what she comes to find out is that Skynet runs the world because they connect to RoboCop and his, at some point in time, and his mind and his interface became like, let Skynet become self-aware.
Okay.
So she's like, okay, I'm gonna go back in time and kill RoboCop. So she does, but then what happens is Skynet sends 3 Terminators back to stop it from happening. When RoboCop discovers their intention to turn the entire world into like fuel, he fights back against them, which leads the Terminators to try and force him to fuse with Skynet. So he kills himself because he realizes that like he's the reason that it happened. So he kills himself. So then they send 2 more Terminators back before that. So it becomes this like vicious, and then he gets like lost in digital space and then creates himself a new body. Anyway,
Is it funny? It sounds hilarious.
It is. It's because only 4 issues. The art's really cool. Really, really cool. It's 1992. It's like that classic like Transformers type art. And then how it ends is hilarious because there's a last ditch effort by Skynet to send 1 Terminator back before everything happens so they can kind of stop it. But they overshoot the mark and they send it back to the Mesozoic area. Mesozoic area. So like, and then they gets crushed by a dinosaur. And it's like that's how it ends.
That's pretty funny.
So it is kind of funny. It's not bad. It's just kind of a loop that keeps happening. It's like, okay. So are we down to Sin City? We are, right? Let's get to it. This is, like we said, bear the lead here, but this is Frank Miller's crown jewel.
Yep. This is what he's been working his entire life to put out, I think.
1991. It's not his first foray in with Dark Horse, more like his third, but still, you can tell this is what he's been holding in. I wanted to get out. And the first book is called The Hard Goodbye, featuring everybody's favorite Hulk, Marv. He's not actually Hulk like Marvel Hulk, but he's Hulk. He's hulking.
Bro, who's the brute? Just beat him up, and it may be Thing.
Thing. There you go. That's a better thing. Yeah, you're right.
But if you said Grey Hulk, he would have got me, or Grey Gargoyle. Even though Grey Gargoyle is refined, but friend of the show.
Oh, what was Grey Hulk's name?
Joe Fixit.
Joe Fixit. There you go. There you go. I was thinking like Tony Twist. That's not. I was like, too many comic books in my brain.
Better than Dick Ryder.
I can't even let that name just fly.
We call him Richard. Richard Ryder. Nobody calls me Dick. I wrote broads, dames, bullets, booze, cigarettes, fucking, and fighting. This is all the real things that Frank Miller thinks is cool.
For Hard Goodbye or just Sin City in general?
This entire run is all of those things. Like this is his. I think this is his love letter to noir.
Yeah.
His love letter to, I think, art, because there's a whole positive, negative, and the art styling is. I had never seen anything like this to that point, and I don't think you'll ever see anything to this level. What he did with negative space and the fact that for most of the issues, there's only 2 colors, and it took him a while before it's like infuse an orange or a blue or like a red. But it's so stylized. He may be one of the most influential artist writers to understand what stylized actually means, because he actually created a self-sufficient world that really promises everything that you expect. And basically behind every corner, there's some sort of dame, deal, fight, fuck, or trouble. And like, if I was reading this as a teenager, man.
Oh man, this would be like everything, man. This would be everything. Because it's so grungy, it's so noir, it's so stylized. Like we said it a million times.
Say it again. And
this story, The Hard Goodbye, is probably the best one.
Yeah, it's his best one. 100%.
I'm trying to figure out what it is about this one. I don't know if it's Marv, the guy who's kind of down on his luck and knows that he's got nothing to live for, so he finds something to live for.
But I just love the backstory of like the way that he draws Marv. He does not look like a looker, right? Like,
no, yeah, he's ugly. Yeah, he's far from your prototypical hero.
There you go. Yeah, but he makes a point to say like it's his narration through it, and you just fall in love with him because he's so perfect for this world. But he'd be like such a problem in anybody else's world, and he understands Sin City more than anybody else. And I'm not saying Miller. I'm saying Marv. That like you fall in love with him. Like even the fact that like he's destroying everything in his path just to get answers, right? Like he doesn't even know what he's really looking for. He just knows he's got problems. But like this one girl, it's Goldie.
She said her name was Goldie.
He has amazing lines in this. Like she smells the way that angels ought to smell. Like there's certain like cadences and shots And I say shot specifically because it looked like he was writing a movie with this one. This one, I feel like The Hard Goodbye.
Hard Goodbye.
This is him writing
a screenplay.
It feels that way.
What's interesting about this one is that it's 13 issues, but most of the issues are like 8 pages. So it's not really it goes by, so only the 13th issue is like close to 50 pages. The other thing, all the other ones are 20 or less.
It's such a smooth read, but you take your time because you go back and you look at every inch of the frame to be like, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on?
And then where the plot takes him is like just the layers that peel back, and he ends up like within the church system, and then it's like, how did I get here?
You got to go to the bar. Like, he took you everywhere in Sin City, and you're just like, I love this world. Why wouldn't I come back to it? And the genius of Frank Miller is like, oh no, we're going back. I got more stories to tell, and
it just expands the universe more and more. And especially these early titles, they cross over slightly.
Just enough.
Or there's characters that kind of show up in one and the other, and it's just enough to make it feel like they all are connected, even if they're not like leaning on each other. This one can't exist without this story. No, it's just there's all these stories going on at once, or within the same time frame in the same city, and some of these people know each other, some of them might not.
It's insane how many sort of things that now that we talk about it, I feel that he pulled from all these other places. Like, this is his best Hell's Kitchen, and the fact that he turned Basin City into Sin City, right? Like, there's a lawless list. Like, he completely removed government. There's no government talk here. There's only Rourke, and Rourke, he only talks about him as a senator, and he leaves everything else. Anything else is just about the Rourke family, the name, but then he talks about the church, and then he talks about the farmhouse. Like, I love how he pulls punches in this. He's more subtle than he's ever been, and I feel it works so much for the motif because it's out of sequence. There's certain stories that happen before other stories, like characters change their appearance. I love the fact that it seems like you're saying the jewel of the crown, but the sum of everything I've learned. If I spent, what was it, by this point, say 15 to 20 years in the comic book industry, this is the story that I get to write, and it shows. It really shows.
Yeah, so he starts in 1990, and his last one goes to 2000. So he's been about 10 years on all these stories. The Hard Goodbye, we talked about Dame to Kill For, which is a sequel, which is where Dwight and Marv come together. These are beautiful stories that deserve to be read by everybody, I think. If you're a comic fan, you should definitely read these
If you haven't already, right? Like, A Dame to Kill For is the best sort of revenge plot of a woman who knows how to play all the men in her life. She's the perfect damsel in distress and ringleader. But the shots that he used in this is so alluring to somebody that if you had like a bad relationship, but the heat was always that drew you back in, you could see how you kept falling for this girl.
So I liked Ava. I liked her character because she was hot and she knew it.
Yep.
And she used that to her advantage. And I found that fun because she's like, oh, but you have to come fight. And then like, just to help break the man down, she's like, she bangs him. She goes, okay, Dwight, I knew that you would come and do this job for me. All I had to do was fuck you. And
she bangs everybody.
But that's because it's a mean
power play. It's a superpower, which is kind of amazing.
Pussy gonna get you killed. Pussy got a lot of people killed in this one.
Or your face changed.
Yeah, that was a weird little. It's cool though because it is lived in, and it's Dwight's definitely Miller's favorite. You can tell it's his favorite because he comes back in like 2 other stories after this.
But like Dwight's the guy that like this shit happened to him to a level, right? Like he has an Ava out there, and his
Miller.
Yes, I think his best revenge is like I would change my face and show up and then smack it, right? Like I feel like he lived out some revenge plans through Dwight, 100%, especially in that story.
Like, bitch,
and she's a dame to kill for.
Dame to Kill For, yeah, that was cool. And then it leads to 1994's. It's funny they all bleed into that. Like Hard Goodbye is 91, 92. Dame to Kill For is 93, 94. Big Fat Kill is 94 to 95.
I love Big Fat Kill.
That's Dwight again. That's the
Old Town.
That's the Old Town story.
Jackie Boy. Right.
Jackie Boy.
Got some great scenes, right? It's all about like a waitress, right? Like that's all how it starts. Yep. They're both a cop and I guess a lowlife. I don't know what Dwight's like a photographer or like he kind of got his fingers and everything. Are basically dating the same girl, but she's trying to transition off. She's done with a cop. She's trying to go with a real man, and Dwight doesn't like the way that he's talking about it, right? So like this is his chivalrous. Like I don't like the way that he's deal with you. Go follow him and like careful how you follow Jackie Boy, right? And it's just a bad night that gets worse and worse and worse. Like he puts enough in the story that had Dwight just taken his time and listened, He wouldn't have gotten so deep, but he didn't. And every chance he can to listen to somebody, he does it. And he should die like 6 times in it, which is kind of amazing. He ends up becoming the hero, and like it's crazy.
With the line, she wasn't saying stop.
She was saying,
cop.
He's a cop.
You darn fool. It's so noir. It's awesome.
He goes from one bed to another bed because he goes to Old Town and
Gail,
like their love-hate relationship. Oh my God.
My warrior Valkyrie. That's it. My Valkyrie. No.
And I love the way that he sets up Old Town. Old Town is basically, does he set up OnlyFans before OnlyFans? Because it's a whole generated area where the money's going back to the people that make it without interference from police or government, right? So if you look at that as the adult industry or mob, if you look at it as an adult industry, I don't have to pay the camera operators, I don't have to pay the director, I don't have to pay the producer, I don't have to pay the other actors, I don't have to pay the bookie or the pimps. It just goes back into my wallet. So anyone that wants to come into this world, I run the shop. I made a stretch there, but he was on to some things. Basically, like, these women are smart enough to know how to handle themselves until they don't, right? The one
rule. What is it?
Don't kill cops, right? Like, they can come in, they can pay their way, but if you don't like what they're doing, you got to send them on their way. That's the one truce that's going on throughout that town. Turns into a bad day where...
Yeah, essentially a cop gets killed in a big fat kill and they have to cover it up.
In the funniest way.
Yeah. And then he comes back. He's not even... Well, he doesn't actually come back, but he haunts them, which is funny. And then so that's 94, 95. In 96, he does That Yellow Bastard.
Which is pretty good.
Awesome. There's parts of it, like the little girl falling in love is kind of weird, but it's super dark. I like the whole...
I can see her idolizing him.
Yes,
right?
I can see that too, yes.
And that infatuation may have got changed based on the world that you live in. Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the first time that we're looking at cops as not the villains, right? Like there's actually one good cop. And this is kind of like his last day on the job sort of shit too, right? Like, I got to retire today. And his retirement party is completely different than anybody else's, which is insane.
That's what I like about it, that he's just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it just takes him down the worst possible path. Like his partner turns on him.
But he gets played like the best way, right? Like he's a man of conviction and morals and holds tight to that through almost everything, right? Because he ends up saving the day for the little girl. But they still pin all the crimes on him because of the connection of the Rourke family, right? The Rourke family is always going to be the looming villain in this series, which is amazing. You just set that up from jump, and then I can always throw a Rourke in there somewhere. Right?
Kind of feels like he went from Kingpin to Rourke, eh? Or Fisk to Rourke.
Look, you make another connect there.
That's it.
But it's the one time where he shows some sort of humanity and some caring for this connection that he had to the last person he saved that ends up doing everybody in. But like those are some of the best scenes too, right? Like when they're trying to beat a confession out of him.
I was just gonna say that when he's in the hospital bed and it's just from his point of view and people keep walking in and his wife's like, I know it's not true. You just gotta say it. Just say it's not true.
Can't say it.
But then Rourke is just like, if you say anything, I'll kill the girl. The girl's dead.
Like they're so evil here without him having to put a swastika on it. Although swastikas do pop up, so what can I say?
Swastikas do pop up in Sin City. They don't need to, but they are there. This one I really, really liked.
Yeah, the point where like they finally get a confession out of him. Like they're beating him senselessly in a chair. Like I love those scenes, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's both played for laughs and seriousness, right? Like he's still like he's spitting blood at them. He's like, you know what? I could break out of this chain right now and play hero and just start snapping necks. And then like he breaks out of it. He's like, no, that's probably not the smart thing to do. Maybe I should just take it calm, right? And I really like how he follows through with the whole narrative of like, it's one guy telling the story. Like, this is my story to tell.
Yeah.
His noir flow, this world that he's built in, right? As he tells his story about like how this was the one bad night. And it's usually one bad night.
One bad night, yeah. And it unfolds like a whole, I like those conspiracy stories where it's like there's heinous shit going down and it shouldn't be going down until you realize, oh wait, it's protected. And then you have to peel back why it's protected and everything that comes within that. And that's what this is a story just like that. And that's why I find it so intriguing. It's like, okay, he's got to get to here and how it all works out. And then he used color in this too.
Yes, the first time they splash color in. And goddamn, the way that you create a villain out of this way, because we already thought he was crazy being like a child PDFer, but he comes back as a literal yellow bastard. Like, his senator father pumped him with so much chemicals and toxins to save him alive that he doesn't even look like the same guy he once looked like. Then he created this whole new villain that now Hardigan is stuck with, right? So it's great.
Yep. And then from 96, they go into 97, which is Family Values. It's another Dwight story.
Yeah.
Probably my least favorite of the bunch. I'll be honest, yeah.
It's long, and you see where it changes. So I think he was either working on other stuff and forgot what this world was like.
Maybe.
Or-
yeah, 97, yeah.
Really didn't have a full like story, because the other three feel like fully fledged, like I knew the beginning, middle, and end. And while he used the white again, it seems like I started something and maybe I left it then.
Maybe. It's basically just Dwight and Miho trying to track down, well, the first they try and track down people who shot up this diner.
Yeah.
So if Miho's involved, you obviously know that Old Town's involved. And if Old Town's involved, you know, it's like, okay, well, there's going to be some sort of twist here. So you kind of see, there's no real twist, but you kind of see, it's not a surprise how it ends. Like, oh, you know, her girlfriend got shot up in the crossfire. And now we're trying to figure out why. And it kind of,
it's weird how it overstays its welcome.
Yeah. It's not even that long, but it just overstays. It's like, okay.
He's trying to tell me too much, and that's not the gem of Sin City. It's got to be in and out.
Which is funny because this could have been one of the short stories, because there's the whole Booze, Broads, and Bullets book that has like
that's great.
10
it's like
or more short stories. Yeah,
that's so fun.
And those are very, very brief, and it could have been packed in there. And he wrote those in between all of these bigger books from 92 to 97. There's one that won an award. I read that one, the Babe Who Wore Red.
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. That one won an award for like best short story. I can't remember what year that was, but
I don't want to give anything away with it, but that one easily could have been a Dwight story. It looked like it was basically a Dwight story.
I thought it was a Dwight story, but they never named the main guy. They never named
different guy. Yeah, it's a different guy.
Got the jersey on.
Yeah, but he still got the same kicks, right? Like they love.
I like how he comes in
Chuck's
and Buddy's just hanging from the fan.
It's such a it's such a crazy left turn, because I thought it was going one way, and then the way it ends, I was like, "Well done, sir. You really had me."
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was going to go one way too. I thought it was going to be like another double cross thing.
She's married. She's married to someone that can't turn her back on.
Yeah, Booze, Broads, and Bullets book. I didn't read all the short stories, but the few that I did, I enjoyed them. So, but that one stood out to me. And then from there, he came back to do one more from 1999 to 2000, which is Hell and Back, which is another one of the better ones. I think this is probably my favorite one, possibly.
It's a good love story.
This one, or actually no,
crazy love story.
The Hard Goodbye is still, Hard Goodbye's got to be the best one. It's got to be the best one. But this one might...
You can make a case for it. I can see that.
This one might be... This is called Hell and Back, Sin City Love Story. 9 issues.
It's kind of true romance for me.
New main guy too, Wallace.
Yeah.
He's a vet. I kind of like the whole vet thing. Bit of a carefree dude who sells his paintings and does odd jobs until he sees a woman try and kill herself one night, and he stops it. And she's trying to jump off this cliff, and he's in the middle of nowhere. And he's like, "Oh," he just happens to see her, and then, like Sin City stories do, it opens up to something, unfolds into something insane.
Dude watching her, like who's watching? Yeah, it's so much more sinister. It's so much more conspiracy based than I thought it was going to go and grow with. For the life of me, I couldn't tell you why, but every time I saw that guy, I kept thinking Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier.
Hey, yeah,
that would be my casting.
Yeah,
Esther. Pretty sure that that's the first time he had a black woman lead.
Yes.
In that?
Well, unless you count Gail. I don't know if Gail was supposed to be black in the books or she just became.
She's wearing a fucking gimp mask for like half of it.
Yeah, for half of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So, but you could see with the features that he drew that he was definitely looking at a black woman, which is appreciated, right? But the whole like sub story of just like basically the government's farming bodies and like changing brainwashing,
farming all sorts of things. Yeah,
the weird orange was a color I was not expecting in this because that character comes in.
There's a lot of colors in this because there's the flashbacks where they have like Leonidas, Ronin, Captain America, Raggedy Ann doll.
Oh yeah, that dream! I completely forgot that.
Rambo, Martha Washington's in this. Big guys in this. Cat in the Hat, Zorro, Hellboy. It goes nuts. And all the cops are named after serial killers.
Yeah, that's
Manson,
fair.
Bundy.
You could make this the best one.
I thought Manson bore some striking resemblance to Minute. I thought they were the same character, but they're not.
No.
But they're very similar. They're big hulking dudes. It's just Minute has the one eye, and Manson, they say he used to be a woman. In this, it's like, you're a woman. He's like, I've been a woman for 9 years. I was like, wait a second, does that mean he's trans? Like,
could be. He's weirdly progressive though.
Yes. He being Miller. Yeah.
Yes. As a writer. And again, we remember how Minute lost his eye because it's one of the great battle scenes between Marv and Minute. Just fighting on the lawn. He's like, I'm going to take his eye. Oh, it's so good. Fuck. I forgot how good that scene was, but I love it. He just loves to rumble. Like, he can't wait for Friday night to go fight.
That's why you like him so much. He's Ben Grimm.
He is Ben
He's just a
Grimm.
more violent Ben Grimm.
Yes. Listen, I love
See,
that.
you turn back to Marv again.
I love Marv though.
Trying to talk about Wallace. It's like no.
We can't compare him.
Marv could have been in the story though. Marv could have easily been in the story.
That's the thing. But that's the problem with what he did with Marv. He gave him such a perfect story that he has to die in the end. And then he had to like immediately be like, well, he's not dead. Because like everybody loves Marv. Like this is one of the books that I read letters after. And people just issue after issue can't fathom how good what Miller is turning out. Because I don't think there's anything like this up until this point, right?
No,
so
dude, no, nothing.
To get Marv for the first time, like, oh man, Marv. But you give us the perfect ending of, and all of them end with Rourke's pinning all the crimes on whoever the heroes are, right? I think you could see that Marv was becoming his crutch because this entire series could have just been like Sid Marv.
So then he just made Dwight his crutch.
So like he immediately painted himself in a corner that he's like, okay, so this is guy Wallace that we know.
Oh, so there's another guy. Yeah, another guy. He kind of looks like Dwight, but he's got longer hair.
You have to get that. There's no Sadie's Bar. Like for Helen Back, like they're not in Sin City. It's really like the outskirts. They're being all this stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So everything else inside is like, oh, I know where Marv is. I know where Marv lives. Like I know Marv's mom. Like everybody's so connected. But Marv is such a character that like nothing should really kill him. Like he really should be immortal. But I can see him just running into problems. Like, all right, I need another guy, quick. The fact that we're still talking about it, do the math, 30 years? No, less than 20 something years later is a testament. And again, you can go back and look at any book and be like, okay, like it was good back then. It may not hold up by today's standards. These still fucking hold up, man. I still get the same rush when I first read it.
Wonderful. And it's crazy because you got to think this time frame, like the mid 80s to like the mid 90s, was such a big change for the comic industry. Like Watchmen came out just 4 years before this. Watchmen in 86, Sin City in 90. And then you have the Image starting up a few years later after that. Like,
and he's really smart not to really give a time frame for when all this stuff is happening, right? The only sort of indication you get is the cars. And the cars are all like big body, old American muscles. Yeah, he does.
He was talking about cars and their engines and
trunks and their space and like they're all made of metal. His sense to give both sort of tones of the past and the future in the same spot. Like there's a word for it that I don't have, but he's really good at doing it because a lot of stuff you can't really put it in a specific time frame, so it looks more ageless. So his sensibility in writing is crazy.
Okay, so just like we did with the Alan Moore Hall of Fame, since we're done talking about that stuff now, we have like a top 5, right? So we'll say the top 5. It was like 3 years ago at this point.
Yeah, and we rarely listen to each other if we don't have to.
Yep. No, I never do if I don't have to.
You're gonna listen to this.
I may listen to this, like not including the editing part. I may listen to it like years from now. I was like, I wonder what I felt about this. You ever do that where it's like you forget
your takes change? Yeah.
You remember how something made you feel, but you don't remember why.
Okay.
That happens to me all the time. I was like, okay, I really liking this, but I don't remember why. So it's a good thing to have the podcast because you're like, oh, I can go back and find out exactly what I thought of this at that time.
Hey, 12 people listening at home. I knew how I feel about all this stuff, but Coke had to pause me and the podcast to say, you're saying that word too much. You can't say that word because you're we know how you feel about Miller, and he
fucks.
Oh, you get to. This is our pull list. This is what we think. This is required reading for our Hall of Fame inductee number 2, Frank Miller. Congratulations again. It was a long uphill road to read all the stuff you wrote and a lot of stuff that you drew. But when it's all said and done, goddamn. Without you, comics wouldn't be the same. So that's kind of the reason we have the Hall of Fame. That's kind of the understanding of how you get in it. You can see the ripples and the reverberations, and the way that you decided to put things together helped influence so many other writers that we inevitably end up enjoying. So this is our top 5 pull list, I guess we would say.
Yeah, you can say that. You number them too, number 5?
I just have the one that we don't share as my number 5.
Which is?
I have the initial run from Daredevil, Frank Miller, and Klaus Jameson, the omnibus.
Klaus Johnson, yeah.
Klaus Johnson. I have Jameson.
Or Jansen. Jansen.
Johnson? Oh, we said it all wrong.
It's Jansen.
Yeah, soft J. If you had the year, that'd be great. but all I can pull up is
Oh, the 80s, 82.
the issues. It goes from
You're talking about all every issue.
no, I'm talking from the 165 to the 191. I think it's
Yeah,
18
that's I mean
titles. Okay.
the every issue.
Okay. Attaboy. So the 79 to 83, the 18 arc titles. For me, who was a little Daredevil fan, this turned me into a large Daredevil fan. You
Yeah.
see the impact on what he's done with the stylized drink, the understanding of who Murdoch is as a man and Daredevil as a fighter, Elektra, Bullseye, Kingpin, and the Bronze Age. And he does so well with the colors and the form of comic book in the Bronze Age, which ironically, after reading all the stuff, may be my favorite era of comic books. To see those stories kind of take shape and his sensibility and his humor, which I don't know if Daredevil was getting the same sort of treatment before. He definitely turned him from a B player to an A player. And that's why that first omnibus is definitely on the list of must read.
He rewrote everything there is to know about Daredevil. Like it was like he just made this character mine. It's like this is mine now. This is his history now.
Yep.
Daredevil didn't start back in those ages. He starts right here.
Mm-hmm.
1980, when I take over, 1981.
Kids today may call that a reboot, but back then this was a takeover.
Almost unintentional too. That's they just like Marvel's like, you know what? Yeah, let's just do this. And by the way, why don't you write an origin story, Man Without Fear, and that'll be like the new origin story. We won't even put it within the run. We'll just make it separate, and it's yours.
Man with a plan.
Amazing run. Did you have Helen back on yours?
I do not.
Yeah, Helen back would be in my top 5. A Sin City love story. Like I said, when I started reading it, I was like, didn't really expect too much of it because it's the last story of the Sin City run. Ended up being one of the darkest ones, just from the revelations near the end. He's a master at building up to tension and building up to things. In all of his books, he does it really, really well, especially like the Dark Knight books as well. I must say, the first one, especially. But this one, he builds it up, and you think you know what it's getting into, and then it gets into all these things that you didn't even think of because your mind's not that twisted.
Piggyback off what you're saying, he managed to take the genius of what he built in Sin City and expand the universe. New characters, new plot lines, and expand a world that we already thought couldn't get any bigger. Then he gets to start using like some of his great charms of references and thought provoking and those random issues where you don't think it's connected to anything and then you find out it's drugs. Like he's really good with just throwing you a haymaker right when you're so gripped into the tension that he builds. So yeah, no, I can see why. From here on out, we have the same list. It's in different orders. So
Yeah. Give Me Liberty is to me the biggest and best surprise of this whole Hall of Fame read along that we just did, because I didn't even know anything. I had tertiary knowledge or somewhat idea of everything he wrote, just about. This one I had no idea, and I was like, wow, this is expansive. I didn't realize he had so much. It must be decent. And then it's like, okay, it's Give Me Liberty, and it's like Martha Washington's awesome character. This world is so cool and so depressing, but she never gives up. But she's not corny about it either. She's not like, I'll just beat everything. No, it's like, my mama taught me this, and she said, don't let them see you sweat. Don't let them see you break. This is not the end for you. But we just keep going. And she handles it. And it's like, it's impossible not to root for her when you read this book. And and then the world itself, we talked about the health police and like PAX and the green and where it came from. And he just keeps moving on from different things. And in all those eras that she passes through in that first Give Me Liberty book, you could spend countless issues in just the green, countless issues in just the rainforest war, right? So it's so cool.
It's so good. That's why I have it a little higher on my list. Going off what you're saying, it's amazing in such a dire circumstances how much love and care is packed into it. The relationship that Martha has with her mother is never missed, or an opportunity to remind the audiences that she's either trying to get back to her or the mother hasn't given up on Martha. And there's times in the comic where the police or the PAX report back saying that Martha's dead, and the mother refuses to believe that. She's like, no, that's not my daughter. That could be anybody in that box. The way that he found to keep a level of heart and hope through a book that in anybody else's hands would just be a dire circumstance and you're expecting somebody to just die, especially the person that you're cheering for, is insane. Artwork helps fly it through the roof because all the stuff that's being thrown at you is even more celebrated with the expression that they use for each character. But again, Miller finds a way to paint and walk us through a world that is so close to reality. It's insane and kind of scary, but you can laugh in a lot of places where you shouldn't be able to laugh, right? And just what he does for America, that one map is
Oh, man.
iconic in itself. He ends up foreshadowing so many things that happens in Give Me Liberty, and I think subsequently more in the series that you won't be able to give him credit for another 10 years when we're now reviewing that in history books.
That's crazy. I remember when I was like a kid, you'd draw like maps just for fun of it, and like kind of where things all went. Like, how much fun would that be to recreate America or recreate this country and kind of think of these fictional factions that maybe aren't too far from possibility, but then mix them with ridiculous things like the Aryan thrust, right? Which I think is so funny. The future is white and male and gay. So it's like, see that meme with the Confederate rainbow flag? Some guys like that's Aryan thrust.
Yep, we're not far from that. King of gerrymandering. My number 4 is Batman Year One. This may be one of, if not a perfect Batman story, because it understands Batman didn't start off knowing everything. He had to take his lumps to learn how to do it. And more so than that, it's not a Batman book, which is something that we can celebrate in this book, but it's hard to see in a lot of other things that he did. It's a Jim Gordon book, and Jim Gordon's the it's gonna swear like a motherfucker. Oh well, he's the fucking man in this. You see a man conflicted who wants to do the job, who wants to do right by the city, but is living a life and starts to develop his own duality. So you easily see the parallels between Gordon and Wayne, and the fact that they end up becoming best friends when it's all said and done. It's because of books like this that understand this is what it takes to be a hero. This is what it takes to be a man. This is what it takes to do your job. And the amazing trope of breaking it down month by month, week by week. This is what happens on a random day. Masterful storytelling.
So that's my number 3 will be Year One. But what's interesting about what you just said, you're just talking about right there, and it just dawned on me. Who's that remind you of? This Jim Gordon, Hardigan.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're just talking about the Yellow Bastard and how, he's a good guy, but he's just the more good he tries to be, the more he gets drained, pulled into the muck. And it's the same sort of thing with Jim Gordon. It's like you can see all these things that he built up to Sin City were baseline at something else. This, the perfect example of. Now he had more restrictions to do here, and in a sense, maybe that's more respectable because you have to work within the confines of what the publisher tells you. You can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have Old Town in Batman Year One. Although he kind of did.
Yep, he did.
But he kind of did. So I mean,
so then it started there. That's Gale.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like you're saying, it's an amazing story because it's a Year One for Batman, but it's also a Year One for Jim Gordon in Gotham. Those first pages where it's like he's describing how gross Gotham is, but then Batman or Bruce Wayne's coming back and he's describing how great it is. The conflicting page,
they're the perfect yin and yang.
Yeah. And there's no crazy, insane, psychopathic villain. It's just the mobs, just gangsters, mobs, crooked cops. I love that style for Batman, especially a young Batman. This goes to my number 2. I think it might be the same as your Born Again.
Yes, Daredevil, the quintessential Daredevil story.
The quintessential. We both went out and bought this right after reading it. Like the perfect Kingpin story, the perfect Daredevil story.
I don't know what it is about Miller and really understanding that my best hero has to have a best villain, but my best lead has to have an equal or strong parallel for you to understand the climb. And we got to see one man's rise to his darkest but most powerful position, being Kingpin, but Daredevil's fall from hero. Kingpin, Wilson Fisk knew how to get the man, and that was Murdoch. And Murdoch is the real saint that you have to destroy, right? So to see him systematically destroy, almost destroy Matt Murdock is masterful for a reader to get behind. Like, name a better underdog story where you're just cheering for this guy. Like, he's living in the Y. Like, it just sucks. They burnt down his house. Like, they did everything to him, right? They took his girl, they took his job, they took his money, they took his clothes. Like, he had nothing.
And he had him beat it. It all came down to, well, I could shoot him in the head, but I'm gonna, put him in this car instead. Which is the funny that we laugh about it because it's like, it's stupid, but it's such a good story that it's like, whatever, it's fine.
Goldie's dead.
We had him.
I've been framed for
In comic
murder.
books, you gotta let the
Cops
hero,
are in on it.
like, he needs the adversity to rise, right? You gotta see him rise
I'll
above
be
it.
right out.
He got the most amount of hate.
What I was
And
most
number one,
insecure about was
take it away.
drawing.
We just finished talking about
particularly
it. The
drawing
world that he
girls
built was
and drawing
amazing.
cars.
The
My
fact that we
two
keep going
nemesis.
back to this
Those are the
world
two hardest things in the world
is
to draw.
predictable. That's the most
And
predictable.
that's really the reason why when
thing
I got to
about
Sin
us,
City,
how much we love
I decided it would be
Sin City.
absolutely full of girls
But
and
you
cars.
can't go to
because I have
Marv. Marv
to
is
solve these problems
nearly
sooner
a
or
perfect
later.
character.
When I
And the
came
Hard
with
Goodbye
Sin City,
is
I
his
just moved to
perfect
Los
story.
Angeles.
If
You
I
can't
knew
really
nothing
draw Los
about
Angeles without drawing
Frank
cars.
Miller,
Lots of cars. Lots
you
of
have to
vintage cars.
know
Lots of
The
beautiful
Hard
cars.
Goodbye.
The characters became
And the most
defined by
impressive thing
three
about
things,
it
really. Their
is that it's
job,
fully
their
from his
guilty
own mind.
secret, and their car.
There's nothing borrowed. There's other books.
Inspired and maybe
Walk down the
homages
right
and
back
just
alley in
I've been
Sin
working in
City.
the industry, but you can tell
And
he's
you
been
can find
thinking
anything.
about this story for the longest time because he picked the right amount of issues, but he picked the right amount of words and pictures to use. And this is the only book on this list where he both wrote and drew. Take another nod,
That's right.
take another bow. The game changed after Hard to Goodbye. And each book, he definitely changed industries and studios and how characters were thought of and looked at. But the industry of comic books, graphic novels, and the art form was changed after the Hard Goodbye. And you can't take that away from the man.
This is us finally signing off from the Frank Miller Hall of Fame. It's just a shame that